trial of former National Assembly Speaker Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula today. Noel Ndlovu is the husband of Defence Force contractor Nombasa Nchonda Ndlovu. Nchonda Ndlovu turned state witness and gave details of how Mapisa-Nqakula allegedly solicited 4.5 million rand in bribes from her between 2016 and 2019. Khomotso Modise has more.
Major General Noel Ndlovu has testified that he only learnt about the corrupt relationship between his wife, Nombasa Ndlovu, and former Defence Minister Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula in 2017. He says when Nzondwa Ndlovu told him about the corrupt payments that she'd been making to the minister, he was seriously angry and told her to stop immediately, which she agreed to do. But Nzondwa Ndlovu has testified about at least 7 other corrupt payments that she'd made to the minister after the conversation with her husband. This morning, Major General Ndlovu's cross-examination will continue, with his knowledge of the alleged payments set to be explored. Khomotso Modise, Eyewitness News, Pretoria.
The constitutional challenge to the Expropriation Act continues in the Western Cape High Court today, with the Institute of Race Relations expected to present its case against the legislation. Legal teams for government and the applicants packed the courtroom yesterday as arguments from AfriForum, the DA and other interested parties were heard. The outcome of the case could determine whether key parts of the legislation survive, are amended or are struck down entirely. Carlo Peterson has more.
The Institute of Race Relations is set to argue expropriation without compensation amounts to state confiscation rather than lawful expropriation. AfriForum yesterday argued property may be expropriated subject to compensation. The forum spokesperson Ernst van Zyl.
Private property rights have been under relentless attack for years by forces that want to abolish this right in South Africa. However, AfriForum will not let them succeed.
The application is being opposed by government and the EFF as an intervening party, supporting expropriation without compensation. Carlo Peterson, Eyewitness News.
And Venezuela has updated the death toll from last month's twin quakes, saying 6,125 people died. The updated figure comes weeks after the 7.2 and 7.5 magnitude quakes struck, causing nearly 200 buildings to collapse, mostly in the worst-hit coastal state of La Guara. The previous death toll has stood at 5,546. Rescue teams and family members continue to sift through the rubble in search of victims and loved ones, with nearly 17,000 people injured in the tremors. Almost 24,000 people in La Guara and Caracas are living in makeshift shelters following the earthquakes. Gold is trading at $4,060.12 an ounce. The rand is at 16.52 to the dollar, 22.17 to the pound, 19 rand exactly to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $85.13 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got delays on the Mark 1 North between the Xavier off-ramp and the Crown Interchange. A major accident reported there. There's also queuing traffic on the M1 South between the Baklu Interchange and Corlett Drive due to an earlier accident.
A fine day in store for Gauteng. The temperatures will peak at highs between 20 and 22 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour: Sports Minister Gayton McKenzie will face off with MPs today over his recent visit to the U.S. for the World Cup at a cost of 31 million rand.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Clement Manyathela
On 702.
Let's Walk the Talk, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app,
DSTV channel 856,
92.7 and 106 FM.
7 minutes after 9 o'clock. Dumelang. Welcome to the Clement Manyathela Show. I hope you're well today and that your day will go according to plan. Thank you so much for being with us here on 702. We start the show with the 702 open line on 011-883-0702. You can send your WhatsApps on 072-702-1702. So, News 24 has now admitted that it has acted in ways that contradicted what we expect of it as a news agency when covering a story. The editor-in-chief at News 24, Adrian Basson, published an opinion piece this morning admitting that News 24 was not hard enough on Andrea Johnson and IDEC. And I've posted that opinion piece on X if you want to read it. But I think it's important to reflect what the editor is admitting to now, because there are some of you that called last week when we were calling out News 24 for their reporting on this issue. And some of you said you are cancelling your subscription with News 24. So I thought it's worth bringing you up to speed with where things are. So for context, for some of you that have missed it, News 24 has been publishing bizarre opinion pieces about what's been unfolding at IDEC. And I'm specific about opinion pieces because, in fairness to other journalists, let's say Karen Mon, for instance, I have read her stories every single day when I get to work. I've read her stories about what happened at the Madlanga Commission because she has an ability to be contextual and to contextualize things in her storytelling. And she has been able to really capture what transpires at the Commission and what it means, even around IDEC. And I've never come across a story she wrote about Andrea Johnson's testimony that seemed to side with her. And if you have seen that, please point me to it. I haven't. So my recollection of what she's reported while she's covering the Madlanga Commission is that she's been reporting the facts. But there are opinion pieces that News 24 published that were literally in support of Andrea Johnson, even with everything that was exposed and revealed about her. And let's be clear, Andrea Johnson has been so unethical in the execution of her responsibilities as the head of IDEC. She has violated the NPA Act. She's basically formed a faction at IDEC that prosecuted people unfairly for their own personal benefit and to advance whatever cause at crime intelligence. There's no way, knowing what you know now about Andrea Johnson, that you would justify the things that she has done. She has betrayed her oath of office, she has betrayed South Africans, and she has betrayed her profession. And I really hope that she gets held accountable by her industry body. What makes her situation worse is that she takes no accountability whatsoever, even in her resignation letter. That's why she can even try get an IDEC employee to avoid appearing at the Madlanga Commission and even make disparaging remarks about the commissioners, even after everything she considered to at the commission. Now, News 24 was comfortable enough to publish opinion pieces by its editors that defended Andrea Johnson. And one of those opinion pieces were written by Peter du Toit. And the headline was, "The Crucifixion of Andrea Johnson." And in that piece, he claims that the commissioners seemed to approach Johnson as if she were Ket Matlala. So he was basically accusing the commissioners of treating Andrea Johnson like a criminal. And I said to him on X, what an unfair statement to make about the commissioners who have consistently conducted themselves with the highest level of professionalism. I mean, all they did was inquire. Isn't that what this commission exists for? And these News 24 editors also produced podcasts where they continued to defend Andrea Johnson, even with everything they knew. And many of us call them out. How could they be blind to the unethical and illegal behavior, illegal conduct of Andrea Johnson? How could they be blind to the injustice that visited Brigadier Mukwele, a woman who was humiliated and criminalized, charged with fraud and corruption, even when there was no basis for it? That's what Johnson conceded to at the Madlanga Commission, didn't she? She even apologized to Mukwele. And interesting enough, on the day Johnson resigned, the same senior journalists at News 24 who defended her now said, oh, her position is now untenable. But they offered no apology to the accusations they made against the commissioners. And I think that's wrong. I think that's unfair. I think that erodes the trust that we have on this platform. It erodes the credibility we have in the credibility that this platform has. I beg your pardon. I mean, the currency of any journalist or news platform is their credibility, right? And I want to be clear. I'm not saying News 24 is a bad platform. There are some great journalists there. In fact, News 24 is one of my favorite news platforms. I subscribe to them because I think they do great journalism, especially investigative journalism. So when they do wrong, as a subscriber to News 24, I want to be able to call them out because I could only wish that they do better from here on. So Adrian Basson has written this piece saying News 24 was not hard enough on Johnson. And maybe that's because she was their source. I don't know. But you can't drink your source's Kool-Aid. And honestly, I wish Adrian Basson, as the editor-in-chief, took it a step further and honestly reflected on opinion pieces by News 24's senior editors and their unfair statements to the commissioners. Because I don't think the issue here is that they were not hard enough on IDEC or Andre Johnson. I think the issue here is that they deliberately ignored overwhelming evidence against Johnson because maybe she was a favorite or because she was a source. I don't know. But their actions were premeditated. I mean, they claimed that Johnson was being crucified, even with all that was coming out of the Madlanga Commission. So I want to know from you this morning if you're satisfied with this concession or admission by the editor-in-chief at News 24, Adrian Basson. You can share your thoughts on 011-883-0702. WhatsApp's on 072-702-1702. Feel free to also reflect on just how they've covered Andrea Johnson and IDEC. And then, I also want us to have a very uncomfortable conversation today. So please, I beg your pardon. And it's an uncomfortable conversation because I've seen how even, when we talk with producers about it, we're all thinking, ooh, should we not? I mean, I've been having this conversation with producers since last week because I wanted us to talk about this because I don't shy away from uncomfortable conversations, whether I'm wrong or right. I just want us to help each other as a society, as a family. I want us to help each other deal with these issues. And today I want us to talk about the matter of this actor. He acted on the wife. His name is Sipho Ndlovu. His former partner, her name is Thandeka Mhlanga, has issued a public apology for damaging his reputation. So, Sipho Ndlovu was in a relationship with Thandeka Mhlanga. Mhlanga then laid a case against this actor after alleging that he had assaulted her when she went to his home following the end of their relationship in 2024. And Ndlovu denied the allegations at the time. He even alleged that Mhlanga assaulted him after finding him with another woman and opened a counter case at the Douglasdale police station. So there's a video now that was recently shared on social media where this former girlfriend, Mhlanga, apologizes to Ndlovu and says that she regretted opening the case. And Ndlovu has always been clear that since the allegations were made against him, his life was ruined. They stopped booking him. Nobody wanted to work with him anymore. He was basically cancelled. And I want you to listen to this clip of Mhlanga, the ex-girlfriend or ex-partner of this actor, Sipho Ndlovu, and listen to what she said last week as she was apologizing to her ex-girlfriend for having lied about allegations of him having assaulted her.
Hi guys, I'd like to speak about the incident that happened on the 15th of November 2024 between myself and Sipho Ndlovu. Firstly, I would like to apologize for opening a case against him. It was the heat of the moment. I've damaged his reputation. I've chosen to withdraw the case because I've caused unrepairable damage to his name and his image. I was upset with the way that the relationship had ended, and I sincerely apologize to all his fans and his supporters of Sipho Ndlovu for falsely accusing him And I hope that we can find a way to put the past behind us and move forward. I knew on the day that I had gone to his house. I shouldn't have gone because the relationship had already ended. And I'd also like to apologize to his brands and all the people that they've lost out in working with him. Thank you.
So that's what the lady posted last week on social media. And honestly, the conversation I was having with the team last week was, it's so tricky because, of course, when someone says, oh, it didn't happen, it happened and it didn't happen, doesn't necessarily mean that it didn't happen. It could be that she was threatened, or I don't know, whatever the case could be. But also it could be that she's telling the truth. But I want us to have a conversation and be honest. How do we deal with a situation like this? Because there are people who believe that, no, let's just move on as if nothing happened because we don't really know if it really happened or not. Is that the approach that we should take? And yes, we seldom have false gender-based violence accusations. But what do we do when people lie about something so serious? Or they are the ones who come out and tell us they lied about something so serious. I mean, to falsely accuse someone of gender-based violence and their life gets ruined as a result, where they lose jobs and they're on the brink of committing suicide because of your lies, because you were upset with the relationship that ended. How should we as a society deal with an issue like this? Do you look at this and think, well, we don't know, so it's too early for us to even call out the lady? Or do you say, no, that's what she's telling us? In fact, that's perjury, because my understanding is she went and opened a case. So that means she lied under oath and falsely accused him of gender-based violence. And I wonder if there's a case that's going to be opened against her. So please be honest with me, because I'm really stuck. I don't know how we should react to this. And I'm worried that we are moving and entering a sphere where there's only one way to respond when things like this happen. Someone last week said, well, just because many women don't falsely accuse men of rape, therefore we can't make this a big deal. Well, it's easy for you to say if you're not the one who's been affected. Tomorrow it's going to be me. So what happens tomorrow when it's me? When someone falsely accuses me of gender-based violence because maybe I don't want a relationship with them. Maybe because I ended a relationship with them and it's false. What happens? Do you then decide that's it? And when the person comes and apologizes and says, I'm so sorry, what do we do? Do we move on like nothing happened, or do we condemn the lady? And I'm not seeing that condemnation. And I worry a little bit about that, because I think that's confusing to us as a society. I think falsely accusing someone is wrong, whether you're a man or you're a woman. And if we are saying that chances are this person was threatened to make that statement, then let's have a conversation about that. Is there evidence of that? Have they shared it with someone close to them? And how do we deal with that as a society? I'm not claiming to have answers here, but I'm saying I'm uncomfortable with the approach that some of us are taking, expecting that, no, women are not capable of evil. I'm uncomfortable with that idea. And that doesn't mean that the majority of cases are false. In fact, I believe that probably 98% of women who come out and says I was raped, that probably happened. I'm inclined to believe that way. But I'm sorry, I'm not going to believe that women are these angelic creatures that are not capable of evil. We are all human beings. We're all capable of evil. I have seen it in my life where women will make certain claims just because they're upset about something. And I'll share a case with you one day. I want to share a case with you one day, not today, because there's a woman who actually listens to the show, who sends me messages every second day, emails. She's probably listening now. And it's bordering on harassment. This person has even come when I did an OB with bodyguards to me to tell me I'm supposed to be her husband. That's what she dreams about. And I excused it because I thought that's just a case of, but it's getting to a point where there's harassment. I get emails almost every second, third day from the same person who even calls herself Mrs. Manyathela. And sure, you may think of it as, it's a joke. It is harassment when you've asked the person, I'm very uncomfortable here. What happens when the same person, and this is what I was thinking about, oh my God, I wonder if one day she's going to go and make a claim against me because I've refused these advances and the harassment that I'm subjected to. What happens there? Are we going to then jump and say there's no way that she's telling the false, because there's no way that as a woman she's capable of evil, she's capable of lying? Let's be honest about how we should approach these issues, because we may be sending ourselves off a very dangerous path. Let me know your thoughts on 011-883-0702. At 10 o'clock, we're live at the Madlanga Commission. At 11, we do our World of Work feature. We're focusing on businesses today and what business owners should be cautious of before expanding their enterprises. And then at 11:30, on our health and wellness feature, I want us to discuss the incorporation of traditional foods as part of our daily healthy diet. That's the show coming up over the next 3 hours.
Clement Manyathela, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
Right, let's go straight to your calls now. Duncan, let's start with you. You are in Senton. Good morning.
Hey, Madimeta, good morning. How are you?
Sure, brother. Go ahead.
You're opening up old wounds with this topic. When I had this, it really took me back to 2018. The apparent marriage ended and moved to Johannesburg. Now, the lady came from all the way from Polokwane to Johannesburg. My resident broke into the residence, banned my clothes, banned my life. When I say my life, I mean certificate. The file that was holding my life in it, certificates of accolades for years and years. I went to an Alexander police station, opened up a case. As a man, men who are policemen sitting there, so you're a very stupid man to open a case against your wife. But there was a lady there says, you know what you can do, open up a protection order. I did all that, opened up a protection order, and on the very same day, the very same lady went to a particular mall in Mall of Africa, beat up the lady that I was with at the time.
Yeah.
Even though the relationship has ended. Now my life just became like a movie, and to a point where after me, I opened a protection order against her, and she went back to her home, to the hometown where I left her in Limpopo. She went and opened a case against me that I wanted to run her over with a car. And I was called by some policemen in the war home to come and attend a frustrated case that ended up nowhere. And she went to my place of employment and gave them, false information that I'm being fraud and everything. Luckily, I had a very, very clever director or CEO who just saw into all these lies and all that. So
where is the situation now, Duncan? Did it affect your career in any way?
Luckily, I had people who, in terms of people, if you work with somebody for years and years, you know them in and out. And in most cases, I think as men, that thing that men don't cry. I actually had in my work circle, I was actually complaining, I had a mentor who is a lady by the time, an Indian lady that I was always complaining, crying my shoulder into. Yeah, and she took comfort into that. And when situation arrived,
I think that's an important thing, right? To have someone that you share these things with, because you need to build up a paper trail. And for me, that's what I've been doing as well, Duncan. And by the way, thank you for your call in Senton, for sharing your story with us. And I'm sorry you went through that. But Duncan raises an important point of, I went to report this to someone. I constantly told them what's happening, because you want someone at least to know. And that's what I've done. Like I would screen grab. Every time the message comes, I screen grab. Because I don't know what is going to be claimed about me tomorrow. And I want to be able to demonstrate that, look, this is the harassment I have faced from this person. Because in the absence of that, then it's their word against yours. And we live in a society that wants us to believe that women are not capable of evil. I'm uncomfortable with that approach. And yes, I do agree that many times when women say they're raped, many times it's true because that's the scourge that this country is facing. But that doesn't mean that a Xoli or a Tandeka or a Grace does not have the capability to want to ruin Clement's life by lying about them about something. Linda, you are in Emerentia. Good morning.
Hello.
Hi, Linda. Go ahead.
Hi, Clement. There's actually a lot of this is in the media at the moment. There's a lady, Dr. Fiona Gherkin from Australia, who would make a wonderful show for you because she comes with exactly this. We have almost as many women with these traits as we have men, but they are hidden. We actually refer to it as the Queen Bee syndrome at work. They're bullies. They bully. They bully at work. They bully the men they go with. And the thing is that they are relationship bullies. They bully upwards and they bully laterally and they bully horizontally. And the thing is that the We Too movement forced us all to say we must always believe the woman is right. It's not right, Clement. Very often the one shouting victim is actually the perpetrator. And we need to really look at this Queen Bee syndrome because that's what they refer to it. If you go and you just think back, look at the Blake story in the States last year. Look at the whole Johnny Depp situation. Those characters are exactly what you're talking about here.
Yeah, it's quite crazy. And guys, I want to be clear here. Ne? I'm not trying to create a space here to justify the terrible behavior of men. You and I know that as men, we've not treated women well in this country, women and children. We've not. In fact, our behavior has been disgusting towards women. The way we harass them, that's recorded, that's proven, that's a fact. So I don't want to use this platform to try and then argue, many of these women are lying. No, please, let's be rational about it. I'm saying, yes, any rational person can see that in most cases, women report rape or gender-based violence, and that's likely to be true. But I'm saying, is it okay for us to have a blanket approach where we say they have to be believed either way? Do you remember? It was even trending many years ago when the Me Too movement was at its peak, where any woman who comes and says, Clement did, #I believe you. It was. Sure, believe them if you want, but don't expect all of us to take that approach and not believing and saying to someone that we hope that there's going to be justice here doesn't mean that you don't necessarily believe them. But we don't want to have these conversations because the minute you open it up, you are seen as a misogynist or you hate women or no. That's why I keep on clarifying that that's not what I'm saying here. I'm saying we need to have, here's a woman who's come out and said, I'm sorry, I falsely accused this man. Here's a man who has lost his job. Here's a man whose reputation is completely ruined. What do we do? That's the conversation I'm opening up here. Do we move on like nothing happened? Is it okay for us to say this woman needs to be held accountable? Or must we step back because, but it probably still happened, even though she's coming out and saying, I lied because I wasn't happy with the relationship ending? I don't subscribe to that. I'm sorry. And you can call me what you want to call me, but I do not subscribe to the blanket approach of wanting to believe that a woman is an angelic creature that is incapable of evil. I refuse to believe that. It's 9:32. Sfiso, hi.
Thanks, Clement. Good morning. With the final voter registration weekend now complete, the Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs Department has confirmed that the 2026 local government election date will officially be gazetted on Friday. The move follows President Cyril Ramaphosa's proclamation of the election date earlier this year. Minister Velenkosini Hlabisa says once the election date is gazetted, the voters' roll will officially close, which means that no new voter registrations will be accepted after Friday. As part of ongoing efforts to create safer learning environments across Gauteng, the Provincial Education Department is conducting search and seizure operations at identified schools in Carltonville as well as Orange Farm this morning. The police-led operation is aimed at combating gangsterism, the possession of dangerous weapons by learners, substance abuse and other forms of criminal activity. And President Cyril Ramaphosa is set to officially open the new King Nyabela Hospital in Middelburg in Mpumalanga today, marking a major boost for public health care in the province. The 220-bed facility replaces the aging Middelburg Hospital and is expected to significantly expand access to quality health care for communities across the Nkangala district. Those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 10 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Well, traveling on the M1 South, we've got some delays just as you approach the Grayston Drive off-ramp. There's also queuing traffic reported in Parkmore along Sunton Drive. This is just as you come out of Winnie Mandela Drive. And then if you're heading towards the Joburg CBD, unfortunately, we've got traffic piling up along the M1 North. This is between the Xavier Street off-ramp and the Crown Interchange. There's also queuing traffic on the M2 West. That's between Heidelberg Road and the Crown Interchange due to another accident. Then heading towards Midrand, we've got delays on the N1 North between the Baklu Interchange and Allendale Road. There's also queuing traffic on Pretoria Main Road if you were thinking of using this route. This is due to the long-term road wrecks that are taking place along this route right near Maxwell Drive, slowing down traffic. We'll have more updates coming up. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Checkers brings you better freshness, better choice, and better value every day. On deals like Parmalat or Bonita salted butter 500 grams, any two for 139 Rand. And Dove bath soap, a 90-gram 4-pack for 64.99. Save 25 Rand. Plus, get up to 40% back in U-Count rewards with your qualifying Standard Bank card. Valid until 10 August. Only at Checkers, Checkers Hyper, or shop on 6060.
At Specsavers, we're committed to offering affordable and professional eye care. That's why we're offering 1,500 Rand worth of savings with our winter promotion. Get a free frame up to the value of 1,500 Rand or use the 1,500 Rand on one of our leading vision enhancements, like Climate Eyes, which automatically adapts to changing light. To qualify, simply purchase a comprehensive eye examination and prescription frame and lenses. Affordable eye care, Specsavers. T's and C's apply.
Durban is ready. Southern Africa is coming together. This August, South Africa proudly hosts the 46th SADC Summit in Durban, bringing together leaders united by a shared vision of regional cooperation, industrialization, economic integration, and sustainable development. When we work as one, trade flourishes, investment grows, jobs are created, and families enjoy opportunities. The 46th SADC Summit, one region, one people, one vision, shared prosperity.
The Johannesburg Philharmonic's early spring season features world-class international conductors and soloists performing with our finest musicians. The program includes favorites by Tchaikovsky, Mozart and more. Thursday evenings at the Linda Auditorium from 13 August to 3 September at 7:30 p.m. Tickets available at Quicket.
The Money Show.
Weekday evenings at 6.
The announcement that diesel prices will go up 1 rand 23 cents a litre and 1 rand 38 a litre. Does a diesel price increase have much of an impact on food prices?
Fortunately, we haven't seen a huge effect so far. So if you think that food inflation at the consumer level, as measured by StatSA, is 1.4%, the annual rate of increases, that would tell you there's not a huge amount of price pressure that has moved through that system.
Kevin Lings is the chief economist.
The Money Show
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
The Money Show with Stephen Grootes is brought to you by Absa Corporate and Investment Banking. Africa's energy future takes more than ambition. It takes turning plans into projects, opportunity into investment, intent into execution. At Absa Corporate and Investment Banking, we help connect the capital, expertise, and opportunity needed to bring sustainable projects to life across Africa. That's how we're invested in Africa's energy future.
Your voice,
Your station.
your open line
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela.
on 702.
It's 23 minutes before 10. Let's start with your WhatsApps. I've got Sipho Ndlovu, this actor that I've been talking about, whose ex-partner falsely accused him of gender-based violence and assault. He's going to join us in a couple of minutes now. But let me start with your WhatsApps on 072 702 1702.
Yeah, Clement, but really, how do you put the past in such a thing? Yeah, you have ruined the life of a human being. How do you put the past behind? Man, really, man. Some people, they are so cruel, man. Really, some people are so cruel. Really, seriously, on a serious note. How do you do that? How could you do such a thing to a human being, to a life of a human being? Oh man, some women, they are so cruel, man. I see.
Morning, Clement. I totally do not agree with falsely accusing men for things they never did in the first place. Because, I mean, story is not going to cut it. The damage is already done. And what is this man supposed to do now? There's so many men who are in prison right now who are serving a sentence for rape and stuff like that, for things they never even did, just because someone was emotional. And yeah, it's very sad. It's very sad because we can't turn back the hands of time. It scares me because I raise a boy child and he's in his teens now. I've seen that he started dating and stuff. So that's the one thing I stress about with him, Jorge. You know, there's situations like these, you will break somebody's heart and they'll be so mean to you to a point where they don't mind putting you in prison for something you never did just because you broke their heart. So yeah, it's a mean world out there. KB from Pimville.
Hi, Clement. On this issue of the lady that falsely accused the man of GBV, I think it happens more than seldomly. I don't know if you've heard of, there's a culture now called Mavuso, where you'll sleep with a girl that you met last night. It'll be consensually so, and then you'll wake up in the morning and then she'll demand money from you, or else she'll open a case at the police station and say you got raped. So these things are happening more often than not. Caesar here from Deep Kloof.
Yeah, guys, how many times have you seen videos of women who are smashing their partner's cars? Huh? How many times have you seen those videos that are trending? Just go Google and see how many videos have trended of women who are upset about something, and maybe rightly so. Maybe their partner cheated on them or whatever. That doesn't excuse violence. I'm sorry. Because if it was the other way around, where it's a man now that's doing that, it's wrong, right? But there are many videos, I've seen them, where women are smashing someone's house, their windows, or their vehicle, or they bend the house, they bend the car because they're upset about something. And the way we respond to that as a society is very different to when it's the man who's a perpetrator. And I think there are women who abuse the fact that the law favors them more than men. And the law should favor women more than men because of what we have seen historically in this country. Men have become perpetrators of hectic violence against women. But there are women who take advantage of that and say, well, he thinks he's going to just leave me, or he thinks he's going to just cheat on me like that. This is what I'm going to claim. Shame on you if that's what you do. That's evil. But society wants us to protect and pretend that women are honest beings that could never lie. And that is going to destroy so many people's lives. I talk to my friends and I say to them, bro, when you meet a girl, make sure you get consent every 10 minutes. In fact, if you can, record it. Record where they're saying, okay, fine, I want us to be together, or just make sure you protect yourself. That's really where we are now, because you just don't know what the next person is going to do. And that's why I gave you an example of this person who sends me emails every second, every third day, tells me how much she loves me, how she's Mrs. Manyathela. When I do OBs, I get scared. And she has come there and approached me at an OB. And that's not the only case. I've had other cases of women who have harassed me to a point where I was so uncomfortable that I even told my bosses. But if it was the other way around, it would be something else. Now I'm scared that if they think I'm refusing their advances, what could they say about me that would be lies? And how would society take it? I want to bring in Sipho Ndlovu now. He is the actor that I've been talking about. It's his ex-partner who has now released that video I played you, apologizing and saying, I falsely accused this man of assault, and I'm sorry about the damage that, has befallen him. And he joins us now on the line. Sipho, thank you so much for coming through, man. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement, and to the listeners.
Yeah, man. Yeah. It's hectic what has happened. And I just wonder, when you saw this woman, your ex-partner, release that video apologizing to you and saying, I falsely accused him of rape, how did that make you feel? Did you see that coming?
Firstly, because I know that I never ever touched her, and I've been saying that that I've never touched her, and she knows very well that I never touched her. And for this dragging for 2 years at the court of law, busy going and postponing, and I'm like, for something that I know that I've never touched her, and hence I was like pushing for going on with this case. And then when it came, because it came to where now it was, she asked for mediation, and it was something like mediation even after 2 years for the case be ready, So when I saw the video, it's something like, okay, it hurt me too much, and man, when things are not going your way, you no longer know if it's because of the false accusation, or it's not my season of getting things, like getting jobs, getting things I used to get. Now I'm no longer getting. So you won't know if should you judge the false accusation, or it is not your season of getting things, because sometimes seasons, things happens by seasons. It's not your season. You won't be getting what you used to get, the jobs you used to get. So it really shattered me.
Has she apologized to you personally?
No,
she hasn't.
Yeah.
And of course, if she opened a case, then she must have lied under oath. I mean, if she's coming out publicly now and saying, I falsely accused him, that means even when she put that on the statement under oath, I mean, that's a perjury charge. And there are a lot of questions now about what you are now going to do about it. Do you want her to face repercussions, or have you forgiven her? Do you want to open a case of perjury against her, or do you just want to move on?
This one was actually, this case was closed last week at the court of law. What happened is that I'm the one actually who opened the case first. Because after this, remember, she came to my house. She entered forcefully. She trespassed without having an access code, And then she went under the boom gate, and then the security at the station was only one security. So one security cannot leave the station and chase after her. So the security had to call for a backup. Then by the time the security calls for a backup, the lady was already at my gate. She wanted to climb the gate. Luckily, I was outside, and then I had the phone on my hand and called the security while I'm going to stop her from jumping into my yard. So when I was doing that, luckily the security already, they were there, before. But then she was, when I was blocking her at the gate, I didn't even touch her. She was the one throwing hands, throwing hands on my face, Then the securities came and they took her, and then they left with her. The following day, she sent a photo of a blue eye, and then she tells me, "I'm going to tell South Africa that you did this to me." And I was like, "But I didn't do that." And then she was like, "Okay, because you allowed securities to manhandle me." Then after that, I saw I was trending because that I beat her. Then people will be insulting me on social media. And then when I went to work, they told me that, no, but you are trending. This is what is happening. And then you should open the case. I was like, yes, really, that's what I must do, because this person is falsely accusing me. And then I went to open a case. She was arrested and then released on Friday, 1,000 something bail. And then on Friday, she opened a counter charge. Then that's when I was arrested on a Friday.
Yeah.
Then I came out on Monday. Then what is happening at the court of law? This was like, okay, yes, she's been asking for mediation. So through mediation, because now this thing has been dragging for 2 years, and I was like tired of busy going to court. And when we got there, they say postpone for consultation. Like for 2 years, it's been busy, postponed for consultation.
Yeah.
And then now after 2 years, she comes back, she wants mediation.
Yeah. So what happened over the 2 years? What impact
After that, then there's at the court, and then after this apology video that she made, and then it was that, okay, because she apologized, and it is the apology that that she made publicly where she ruined my brand.
Yeah.
And then I said, okay, she did that, and because obviously she apologized, and I wanted her to apologize, and then it's fine. Then they said she said she will withdraw her charges, and I withdraw my charges.
Yeah. How have you been affected in the last 2 years? And I know you said you never knew whether it's just a bad season for you or not, but was there any indication that because of her allegations, then you struggled to get jobs or people were treating you weirdly? What was the impact on you?
Clement, there are things that, I used to get even invites on the events, I used to get events or bookings with other different brands, maybe even if it's just on campaigns, not like a contract-wise, but just on campaign-wise. So, but after that, everything, even people who used to send me invites, they stopped. I haven't seen any emails coming from them inviting me or what. Everything that stopped. And yeah, one of the guys that I know who's also in the industry, he once tried to hook me for another MC gig. I won't mention the brand, but it's one of the big brands. And they were already waiting for me to come there. Then on the final day, they cancelled.
Yeah.
Then the guy told me on the site that it is because they find out that there's a GBV case against you.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, Sipho, thank you, man, for speaking to us. And I'm sorry about what you've gone through, and I hope things will brighten up for you.
Yeah, but Clement, I wanted to mention this.
Yeah.
This thing of GBV, I think government should also make sure that they bring men on board and women on board. It shouldn't be GBV about women and children, also men. But now, if they are not bringing men inside this thing, we won't win this fight. We won't win this fight.
Yeah, well, it's examples like this that are going to let our government, but even us as a society, to be more aware of also the false accusations that come against men. Thank you, Sipho Ndlovu, for speaking to us. And to be clear, I mean, of course, government needs to focus on the gender-based violence against the vulnerable. And who are the vulnerable? That's women and men. I mean, women and children. Historically, we don't have data that shows that most men are the ones that are falsely accused. It's really most women who at the who are at the coalface of experiencing sexual violence or assault, and the perpetrators mostly are men. That's just the reality. The police statistics also indicate that. So let's not miss that. But that doesn't mean that there are no cases where women can lie. Listen to this message from someone on the WhatsApp line who says, Clement, a great discussion there. I almost fell out of my chair a number of years ago when a well-known lady of the type first black CEO of this and that admitted at a dinner that I was at. It was the three of us at that dinner. And she admitted that she once got a boss fired by accusing him of sexual harassment because she didn't like him. He had not harassed her. His career was ruined. So it would be interesting to also hear from ladies who have received money to lure men into uncompromising situations for blackmail. So yeah, let me tell you, the easiest way to destroy a man in today's society is to get a woman to say, that man abused me. Right? In today's society, that's the easiest way to do it. The easiest way to get Clement to be removed off the show, to be cancelled, is get a lady who's going to come and say, falsely say, he abused me, he raped me or sexually assaulted me. Because, and I'm happy that society is that sensitive towards gender-based violence. I think we all should be. But I think we need to have these conversations about what happens, though, when the woman comes back and says, I lied. What happens when it's perhaps proven in whatever way that that was not the truth? What do we do? Are we still comfortable with a blanket approach of saying, no, women could never lie, could never accuse? And I can never tell you how many stories I'm receiving, even on the WhatsApp line. I just don't have enough time to read all of them. But a lot of people are saying, oh, I know of a lady who once did that. And in some cases, it wasn't because the lady was harassed. It was because the lady was unhappy that the partner cheated or the partner left her and she said, I'm going to destroy you. What a dangerous world we're living in. George, you're calling us from Hard to Be a Sport. Thank you so much for your patience in holding. Good morning.
Morning.
Sure, go ahead.
A very powerful topic we have today, which needs is a moment of truth that we need to get into. The moment of truth is to look at our backgrounds as South Africans. And by the way, sorry, my brothers, all of those that have been put into this situation, as well as on the other side of the ladies. Getting back to my point, we need to look at the background of South Africa. We come from a very evil, bad background of apartheid. And I'm going to talk especially about black people, where our society was mismanaged, where people had to live one side having relations somewhere, where there was violence, where there were lies, etc. I'm opening this debate to a level that we can discuss this and other topics like how many men are out there who've been claimed to have impregnated certain women. Until they've done this, the test is then the truth comes out. It's quite huge. It tells you the sickness that we have in this society.
It's crazy, George, in Hard to Be a Sport. Thank you. WhatsApp's on 072-702-1702.
Good morning, Clement. The only thing that will stop these false accusations of GBV and false assault on innocent men, it's when these women are being charged and they also have to pay for false accusations. They need to pay them in lost income during that false accusation process. So I think this lady should be charged. This is the same incident that happened to Java. Lady Zama also opened a false rape case against Java, and he also lost an income. This is very, very, very sad. I'm very, very sad what happened to this guy. Thank you so much, Clemmy. This is sad. Bye.
Hi, Clement.
I don't think this is a case that we should just move on from because, number one, as you say, the person who was lied about has had serious repercussions for him. His life is basically ruined. His livelihood is ruined. Number two, it was done in such a public matter. This was not just something between families and friends. And thirdly, and I think most importantly for me, is that this kind of behavior is the very behavior that adds credence to the people that argue against women who speak out against GBV and assume that they are lying.
Hi, Clement Tabiso from Soweto. Clement, I'm happy that you've played that clip. Clement, there's a lot of women who are doing that because they know that as soon as a woman ran to the police station or complained about GBV, everyone will listen. I do agree the stats doesn't favor us as men, but there's a lot of women taking advantage of that. And I'm happy that you're calling out this. There's a lot of women taking advantage of that. People are falsely accused when it's women. So these messages of GBV, it should be balanced. No violence against men and women. No violence against women and men. Period.
Yeah, but please, guys, let's not equate the two because you can't. You can't equate the two. The most people in this country who are subjected to violence and assault are women and children. That's just the reality. So let's not try equate the two and say it's at the same level. It's not. The statistics don't demonstrate that. And yes, are there men out there who are probably in prison for being wrongfully accused? Absolutely. Are there men in our society whose careers have been ruined like Sipho because an ex was upset that the relationship is ending? Absolutely. But do you know how many people are scared to even have this conversation? They are. They are scared because then they are scared of being seen as you're a misogynist or you are. I know that there are people that are going to come after me for even opening up this chat because we're supposed to move on. There are people that have criticized me because I've hosted people who have been accused before in the past and they got acquitted or why are you still hosting that person? Because we live in a society where a woman says this, take it as gospel truth. Can't be questioned, can't be interrogated, believe them. And I think we've created monsters who are going to come and abuse that privilege and abuse the opportunity that they have to be understood by society. And you know the sad thing? The people who falsely accuse men, they ruin it for other women who genuinely get assaulted and raped and by men. That's the reality. So the next time you think, I want to be a nasty human being and evil and destroy someone's life, think about another woman who's going to be in that situation, but they're going to try say it and you're ruining it for them because now people are going to think twice before they believe.
So the other day I get this call from an insurance company. They asked if they could quote me. I said, quote me? I can't remember what I said. But if you're still thinking about it, it must have been pretty good. Mom always said I have a way with words. They just put down the phone. I don't get it.
Don't get that insurance. Get Pineapple. It's easy to get and online. Pineapple FSP 48650 is underwritten by Omart Insure Limited, a licensed non-life insurer and authorized FSP. T's and C's apply.
You hear that? That's the sound of business execution finally visible. No more chasing people and reports. No more disconnected systems. No more guessing if our business is performing or not. iStratGo connects strategy, people, performance, and day-to-day work into one clear software platform, so leaders can see what's working, what's not, and where to focus. Because when execution is visible, everything runs better. Book a demo on istratgo.com. ISTRATGO.com.
Uncertainty is rising, but your business still has to deliver. Production targets need to be met. And when your workforce is out of balance, the cost is immediate. Too many employees? Costs climb. Too few? Productivity drops. Workforce staffing helps businesses stay in control with flexible workforce solutions deployed within 48 hours nationwide.
When demand changes, your workforce can change with it. Visit workforcestaffing.co.za. Stay productive, stay flexible, stay in control.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I'm Sfiso Zulum. The first witness at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry this morning is Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions at the Investigating Directorate Against Corruption, Peter Serunye. Serunye is expected to testify about his role in IDEC's controversial arrest of Crime Intelligence Head Dumsani Khumalo and the unit's Technical Support Services Head Dineo Mukweli. The Commission has heard over the past few weeks that the arrests were flawed and based on claims that were largely unsubstantiated. IDEC arrested them following claims that Mukweli was unqualified for her position, but it was since revealed that she was, in fact, overqualified for the role. Serunye will present his version of events.
I have been subpoenaed by the Commission to give evidence regarding my involvement in and knowledge of IDEC's criminal investigation into the allegations against Lieutenant General Samuel Dumisani Khumalo and 6 other crime intelligence officials regarding the appointment of Brigadier Mukweli, commonly referred to as the Mukweli matter in brackets, State versus Khumalo and others, and the matter of Major General.
With the final voter registration weekend now complete, the Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs Department has confirmed that the 2026 local government election date will officially be gazetted on Friday. The move follows President Cyril Ramaphosa's proclamation of the election date earlier this year. Minister Velenkosi Nihlabisa says once the election date is gazetted, the voters' roll will officially close, which means that no new voter registrations will be accepted after Friday. Department spokesperson Pearl Masego Pingwase.
The strong turnout during the recent voter registration weekend was encouraging and demonstrated South Africa's commitment to democracy. Those who have not registered or who need to update their registration details are encouraged to do so. Every registered voter strengthens our democracy. Make your voice count.
As part of ongoing efforts to create safer learning environments across Gauteng, the Education Department in the province is conducting search and seizure operations at identified schools in Carltonville and Orange Farm this morning. The police-led operation is aimed at combating gangsterism, the possession of dangerous weapons by learners, substance abuse and other forms of criminal activity. The anti-crime initiative is supported by the Gauteng Traffic Wardens as well as other law enforcement agencies as part of a coordinated effort to strengthen safety and security at schools. Meanwhile, school safety has once again come under sharp focus following the murder of yet another Gauteng teacher. Koskona Malingamnisi reports.
Today's operation comes a day after a teacher from Michael Zulu Primary School in Tsakane was shot dead less than a kilometer from the school. The 29-year-old male educator was walking to school with a group of learners in the morning yesterday when he was attacked. The motive for the murder is unknown. Gauteng Education MEC Lebogang Maile has condemned the killing, describing it as a devastating blow not only to the education sector but to society as a whole. Maile says the tragedy underscores the urgent need for communities, law enforcement and government to work together to combat crime and protect schools. See Kona Malingamnisi, Eyewitness News.
And President Cyril Ramaphosa is set to officially open the new King Nyabela Hospital in Middelburg today, marking a major boost for public health care in Mpumalanga. The 220-bed facility replaces the aging Middelburg Hospital and is expected to significantly expand access to quality health care for communities across the Nkangala district. The ceremonial open comes nearly a decade after construction began, culminating in one of the province's biggest health infrastructure projects. Mongezi Koko has more.
Construction of the hospital began in 2017 as a replacement for the old Middelburg Hospital, with government saying the new facility forms part of its drive to improve public health care and expand access to modern medical services. The Level 1 District Hospital features 220 beds, 3 state-of-the-art operating theatres, a 24-hour accident and emergency unit, high care services and a full range of clinical medical departments. Situated along the N4 in Middelburg, the facility is expected to serve thousands thousands of patients across the Nkangala district. President Cyril Ramaphosa will be joined by Health Minister Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi, Mpumalanga Premier Mandla Ndlovu, traditional leaders and members of the local community for the official opening. Monke Ziko Ko, Eyewitness News, Middelburg.
Gold is trading at $4,060.12 an ounce. The rand is at 16.52 to the dollar, 22.17 to the pound, 18.98 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $85.13 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got delays on the N1 North. This is between the Baklu interchange and Allendale Road. There's also queuing traffic in Calvin along the N3 North between Marlborough Drive and the Baklu interchange. That's due to roadworks.
A fine day in store for Gauteng. The temperatures will peak at highs between 20 and 22 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour. The first witness at the Matlanga Commission of Inquiry today is Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions at IDIC, Peter Serunye.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
Let's walk the talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7 and 106 FM.
Minutes after 10 o'clock. Dumela, welcome to the third and final. It's not the third and final hour. It's the second hour of the Clement Manyathela Show. Aibo, I already want to leave. No, we still have 2 hours to go. So it's the second hour of the Clement Manyathela Show. Thank you so much for staying with us here on 702. And thank you for being open enough to have uncomfortable conversations. I think that's what I want us to do on this show. I don't want us to shy away from anything. And that conversation, I know how uncomfortable it is. I know how other people are going to misread it and turn it into something else. I'm okay with that. But I still want us to be honest enough to reflect on our actions as a society, because that's the only way we can get better. Listen to some of the people on the WhatsApp line who are saying, Sens on the WhatsApp line says, Clement, enough. You are overdoing it. Let's not overreact. Huh? Sure. So according to Sens, Nika, we're overreacting when we are trying to show that someone's life has been completely, almost destroyed because of false accusations. Another person, Amanda, on the WhatsApp line says, yeah, the female monsters you're talking about have literally been created by the behavior of men to date. So reap what you sow. See? So again, it's being flipped around now that, yeah, the reason women are falsely accusing men of rape and assault is because men used to be so bad to them. So does that make it okay? And none of us, at least myself, I'm not denying that as men, we have been a problem for decades. The way we've treated women and children is despicable. I'm not denying that. But I'm also not going to justify nonsense. I'm not going to justify someone who lies about someone, about something so serious and so significant that it can destroy your life. I'm not going to do that. Bruce says, Clement, internationally, proper studies put false reporting at roughly 2 to 10%, mostly towards the low end. There are no real stats for South Africa. That's real. There is minimal false reporting, sure, but it shouldn't get turned into a men are the real victims narrative. Okay, but when did I say men are the real victims? You see what I meant earlier? I said watch how people are going to turn things around. That's why I kept on, almost every 15 minutes, I kept on saying again, this doesn't mean men have not been problematic. This doesn't mean men must be the focus. This doesn't mean our government must shift its focus on the focus on women and focus on men. I kept on repeating that because I know there are people who selectively listen to me, and they're going to try and turn it around and make it something that it is not. But thanks for being open enough to engage on it. It's 11 after 10.
You're with Clement Manyathela.
702. Let's walk the talk.
All right, let's go to the Madlanga Commission now. So we've got another witness from IDEC. And look, it's important for us to pay close attention to what's being revealed through these testimonies about IDEC, because what follows next may or may not be the disbandment of IDEC. I mean, if the rot goes too deep, that's likely to be the case. But even if the institution doesn't get disbanded, there will be some serious institutional reforms. So I think it's important for us to pay close attention to what's being revealed there about IDEC and the head of IDEC and some of the people who were in her faction fighting this other grouping in the SAPS. So the witness on the stand now is Advocate Peter Serunye. He's a Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions with the Independent Directorate Against Corruption, that's IDEC, and he is now testifying, and he has been speaking about the designation of cases, because remember, a lot of focus has been on Dumisani Khumalo's case, like the crime intelligence cases, the case against Dumisani Khumalo and other crime intelligence officers. So let's take a listen to Advocate Peter Serunye and hear what else is going to reveal about Andrea Johnson and how things have transpired at IDEC.
In the IDEC and so on, which will compose of Mr. Soko will always sit in the intake criteria according to the manual. There'll then be a deputy and a chief investigator, I think, and it also recommends either senior state advocate or a chief investigator. So it's about 4 people interchanging. It's not a permanent structure, but I think Mr. Soko will always be part of that intake criteria according to the manual.
And have you, in the team that you're responsible for, have you had a situation where the ID approaches your one, I call them juniors, someone not other than you, the head of the team, to look into a matter? Have you had that kind of situation?
I have never had that type of situation, commissioners, except for this case that we're dealing with, that I'm here for today, where one of the juniors in my group was utilized for these Mokwele Lushaba matters without my knowledge and engagement.
So that's exactly what I wanted to ask about. So I'm going to pause for now.
That's the only one case. Otherwise,
okay, let me pause my question. We'll discuss it in more detail when we get to the specifics. Thank you.
Thank you.
You can proceed with paragraph 20.
Paragraph 20, as a matter of practice, the groups do not share the detail of their respective matters with one another, and members sign non-disclosure undertakings. This is to guard against the leaking of information. Every matter is, however, headed by a DPPP who acts as its project owner. If I can just add on to this, on paragraph 20, the signing of non-disclosure forms. This is drilled into each and every employee that comes in, the non-sharing of information. So when a group is dealing with a case, only that group knows the facts, who are the suspect. Documents are only dealt by that specific group. I cannot be involved in the discussions of another group where it is we have met, unless if I am designated. There are cases where 2, even more, deputies are designated in one group. We do this because sometimes people go on leave. You have a deputy who's on leave and his group wants a Section 28 subpoena that has to go to the bank to be signed. and on an urgent basis. Therefore, if I'm available, then I can sign that. But I can only do it if I've been designated to be part of that group. Otherwise, the non-disclosure the requirement comes into place. So we don't share information. That is why a person who occupies an office next door to me can be involved in this case, which, for example, a case that involves my neighbor, and I wouldn't know about it because we don't share. Even when we're having our coffee and discussing matters, we don't talk about cases. If I have a problem, if I want to know something, and when we're discussing about the law or issues, we talk in general terms. I'm not going to say, colleagues, please help me. I have this case of so and so, and how do I go about? I can give them a scenario without talking to the names of the suspects in my case, to avoid information being shared amongst.
Advocate Serunye, the last sentence of your paragraph 20. Good morning. I don't think I greeted you. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioner.
Paragraph 20, the last sentence, you say every matter is headed by a DPP who acts as a project owner.
Indeed.
Are there exceptions to that rule, if it's a rule at all? Because the matter you're talking about next, as I understand your statement, it was not headed by a DDPP.
Yeah. There is no exception to that rule.
Or there should not be. There should not be exceptions.
There shouldn't be.
So where there are exceptions, what is the problem and what is the reason for that?
The only exception that I know of is with this case, and I cannot explain it. I always believed that each case must have a DDPP, because there are functions that a DDPP must do as the investigation unfolds. As I indicated earlier, when we need information from the banks, from cell phone providers, and so on, we serve them with a subpoena. That subpoena can only be signed by a DDPP. And if a group does not have a DDPP, I cannot see how they are going to be able to proceed.
And that's the whole point of a prosecutor-led investigation, that you need a senior prosecutor overseeing and guiding that investigation.
That is true, Commissioner. That is true.
So where that doesn't happen, what is the issue? What is the problem? I'm trying to understand. Because the case you're going to deal with, you're going to give us facts, but I'm more interested in reasons.
Yeah.
When no DDPP is appointed to head or to be a project owner of a matter, what could be the reason?
Commissioner, I find it difficult to explain. Because that shouldn't happen. That shouldn't happen. Otherwise, investigations are going to stall. They're going to find it difficult to get information from service providers. And in such a situation, you also don't have leadership. You don't have anyone guiding and helping the team, and so that they can wrap up the. Everybody's going to do as they please. So that's why you need a leader in the form of a DDPP to help direct the team.
It's like a soccer team playing a match without a coach.
Indeed, Commissioner.
It can happen, but it shouldn't happen.
They are going to kick the ball all over without any direction. My involvement in the Mokwele matter, at paragraph 21, on the morning of 27 June 2005, I arrived at the office as usual, around about 7:30. On my way to my office, I found colleagues in one of the offices discussing an arrest which IDEC had conducted the previous day, which was the 26th of June 2025. This arrest was on a number of high-ranking police officers.
I'm thinking once an IDEC matter reaches the stage of an arrest, there would surely have been some investigations already.
Indeed, Commissioner, you cannot arrest without...
investigations within IDEC itself.
That is what has to happen. You cannot arrest without doing investigations. You cannot arrest without coming to a decision that we've done so much work, we are ready, or we still have shortages here and here. So the team must meet and...
But we have enough to arrest.
We have enough to arrest.
Yes.
Yes.
Now, the way you frame it in this, in these two sentences, it appears you are not aware at all that there were any investigations, and not just investigations that ought to have led to the arrests you heard about this morning.
Yes. Chair, what I'm stating there, indeed, is I was not aware, but it's because this case was not in my group. I get to the office, and the office is buzzing with people talking about this big arrest that happened the previous day. That is what drew my attention to that. Everybody's talking about it. And
so it was not in your group?
It was not my case. It was not. I was hearing about it for the first time.
In whose group was it?
I didn't know at the time, and that is what then made me curious as well, because everybody's talking about that case. I wanted to find out, as I'm stating by the next paragraph, I then started asking around, which case are you talking about? Who's the DPPP? I stayed on paragraph 22, commissioners. Consistent with the practice that I described above, I had no prior knowledge of this matter. Out of concern, I inquired which group was responsible for it. No one appeared to know, at least from the people that I was talking to, no one appeared to know which DDPP was responsible, which I found unusual, since every matter is headed by a DPPP as its project owner.
Advocate Sereni, before you move away, was it out of concern at that point, or was it interest? And if it's concern, why were you concerned at that point?
Well, it was more out of interest. Everybody's talking about this case. Generals in the police arrested, and naturally, as a leader myself in the structure, that draws me to a point of wanting to know which cases, who are handling this case, which cases, and that is what then leads me to paragraph 3, where as I'm inquiring, I'm then told that Advocate Joy Tlatswayo, who was one of our junior state advocates, and who was at the time reporting to me, or reporting to my group, and who, without belittling her or anything, she was amongst the most junior in the office. I'm told she's the one who's handling this case. I established that she was appearing.
Can I just, before we forget it, from your description or allocation of the 4 streams and the DDPPs that you allocated there, it seems that Advocate Paul Lowe would have been the DDPP responsible for this stream, because you say, I think you said intelligence, he was responsible for that.
Indeed, Commissioner. If things were done in accordance with the manual,
yes,
Advocate Lowe ought to have been the project owner, the DDPP in the case. But if I remember well, he was also there in the office that morning, and that is why he didn't appear to know anything about this case as well. And that is what was strange.
Yeah, another kink, as it were, would have been the fact that one of your prosecutors, Advocate Tlatswayo, was the prosecutor. You told us that if someone were to be taken from a deputy by another deputy, there would be a discussion between the deputies. Obviously, from what you say here, nobody had approached you and asked that Advocate Tlatswayo be part of the prosecution in another group or team. So, as I say, so that's another kink, or that's another anomaly.
Indeed, Commissioners.
And I also see the name of Mr. Brian Padiachi. Was he not a senior investigator in your team?
Padayashi was not in my team.
He was not in your team?
Yes, I think he was in the security cluster.
Someone else's team?
Yes.
So it looks like
But it was strange that a junior prosecutor was reporting to me is allocated to this case without me having been engaged. Not that it doesn't happen, like I said, I would have expected, say, maybe Advocate Paul Lowe, if he was part of that group, to have discussed the matter with me, to say, we need a prosecutor, we're having a shortage. Do you have a lot of work for Joy? If I said no, then we agree they can utilize it.
And was this the right team for, or rather, was this the right case for Mr. Padiachi? Or was he too misplaced, as it were?
He's a senior criminal investigator, Chair. I would believe he was suited to part of this.
I'm asking in the context of the different groups. For example, Commissioner Baloyi said this was an intelligence matter which would have fallen under Deputy Law. Yes. So did Mr. Padiachi work under Deputy Law?
He was working under Advocate Law. He was in the security cluster, which was headed by Advocate Law.
That's what I wanted.
The only amazing thing is that Advocate Law appeared also not to know about this case, because I saw him in the office that morning.
Yes.
He was not properly dressed for court, or at least that he knew about the case.
So when you inquired, what case is this and what have these generals been arrested for? He too did not respond and say this is what happened and this is why they were arrested. He appeared to be in the dark as well.
He appeared to be in the dark like I was. He did not know about the case.
Advocate Sigerunye, ordinarily who allocates matters to junior prosecutors in the IDEC? So take, for example, Advocate Hlachwayo, who ordinarily allocates matters to prosecutors at A level. Is it the ID or is it the DDPPs?
It will be me. It will be me as the DPPP in that group. I would look at the setup of the team to say, I need, say, maybe one or two juniors. Let me go for Advocate Hlachwayo and so.
Can Mr. Sissoko allocate a matter to a junior prosecutor?
That doesn't fall within his mandate.
Ordinarily, only a DDPP would allocate a matter to a junior prosecutor.
That is true, Commissioner.
If it's a junior prosecutor in your team, you would be the one allocating.
Indeed. So that is so, Commissioner.
I think you were.
And in this case, that is why I found myself asking a lot of questions, because I didn't know about the case where one of my juniors is involved, and but I understood that because we signed these non-disclosure forms, maybe that has happened, and I was not involved. But it was something didn't sound right. It was a bit strange.
I think you were to start. I established that she was appearing, or am I
Yes, I then established that Advocate Hlachwayo was appearing in court that morning with investigating officer Mr. Brian Padayashi, and that there was no co-prosecutor with her in court, no senior state advocate, no DDPP, and no chief investigator assisting her. I was concerned that a matter of this magnitude, involving the arrest of senior members of the police, was being handled without such support and without a DDPP overseeing it. At that moment, I then, together with one of my fellow DDPPs, Advocate Jacinta Vetboy, and Mr. Sibusi Sochikovi, who is the chief financial investigator. These people, I'm mentioning them because they were in this group when we were inquiring and making and trying to find out who was handling this.
So that's Advocate Peter Sirunye, the Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions. with IDEC. And as you hear there, he says he was surprised about these important cases being handed over to juniors, and it's a conversation they had with other senior prosecutors and investigators at IDEC. We're going to get the latest in Eyewitness News headlines now. When we come back, we'll take you back live to the Madlanga Commission. Sfiso, good morning.
Thanks, Clement. Good morning. IDEC's Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions, Peter Serunye, is giving evidence at the Madlanga Commission as the organization continues to be under the spotlight. Serunye is testifying about his role in IDEC's controversial arrest of crime intelligence head Dumisani Khumalo and the unit's technical support services head Dineo Mukwele. The Commission has heard how over the past weeks, their arrests were flawed and based on claims that were largely unsubstantiated. The murder of a teacher in Tsakani has triggered search and seizure operations at identified schools in Carltonville and Orange Farm this morning. The teacher was attacked yesterday morning on his way to school. Authorities say today's operation is aimed at combating gangsterism and the possession of dangerous weapons by learners, substance abuse, and other forms of criminal activity. And 3 lions at a Tokyo zoo have died from suspected heat stroke, and others are under treatment. Japan sweltered through its hottest summer on record last year, and parts of the country have hit 40 degrees in recent weeks, with thousands of people hospitalized as well. Authorities say 10 of the 16 lions in Tamazu Park have suffered symptoms such as loss of appetite and decreased activity since mid-July as they struggle with high humidity. Those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 11 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Heading towards Southgate, we've got an accident on the M1 South. It happened near Xavier Street. It's causing heavy delays. There's also slow moving traffic in Bedford View along the N3 North. This is between the Van Buren Road exit and the Kilulis interchange. While traveling on the N3 North in the Kelvin area, queuing traffic between Marlborough Drive and the Baklu interchange. That's due to roadworks there. There's also slow moving traffic out of the Baklu towards Waterfall along the N1 North. And then, of course, if you were thinking of using Pretoria Main Road, please try to avoid it as well. It's got delays towards Maxwell Drive. This is due to roadworks as well as an accident there. And then in the city of Tshwane, we've got some delays reported along the R21 North, right at the on-ramp. This is due to an accident at Solomon Mahlangu Drive. It's causing delays. Please approach with care. More updates at the top of the hour. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Bongani Bingwa, 702 Breakfast.
Weekday mornings, 6 to 9.
The Morita Forestry collapse. Joel Cedrus, what was Morita Forestry?
Morita Forestry was an investment specifically targeted towards South Africans, and you were investing in what they called a woodland investment. So you could start with anything from 350 Rand up until 320,000 Rand.
What did people think they were actually investing in?
The influencers that marketed the scheme, one of the things they said was that by investing in a woodland, you are profiting from the oxygen that the tree produces.
Profiting from oxygen?
Yes, exactly.
But you can't sell oxygen, I mean, as you and I so well know, Joel.
No, exactly.
Are there any particular horror stories that stand out in terms of the monies people might have poured into this?
Quite a handful of people committed suicide following the realization that they lost money in the scheme. There were also people that had put in their entire pensions.
Bongani Bingwa, 6 to 9.
On 702.
You're up before everyone else. You're building something real. Absa Business Banking, powered by Visa, gives you everything you need to get going. Open a business account in 10 minutes. Buy a point-of-sale device for $799 and get a credit card all in one place. We get it. Running a business is hard. Your banking shouldn't be. Search Business Starter Pack. Your story matters. Absa is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
We're giving you millions of reasons to celebrate with our selection of Lucky Millions Lotto draws. You could claim major jackpots when you pick numbers from thousands of daily draws. Choose numbers on UK 49s, Euro Millions, and lots more from just R5 per line. Enjoy more chances and more ways to win, all in one place. Grab your chance to celebrate extraordinary riches when you play Lucky Millions from Hollywood Bets. Bet now.
T's and C's apply.
Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710.
Hey, we buy cars. How does it work if I want to sell my car?
We'll drive to your place. You can visit our pods. Even if you don't have space, then at the mall in a parking lot, we've got lots of depots all across the land. Contact We Buy Cars. You're in safe hands. Safe hands.
Wow, that's great.
We Buy Cars, the easiest way to sell your car by far.
Humans are very good at planning some things. A weekend bribe, being first in the queue for fresh cinnamon rolls. But the big things? Like what happens to the people we love if life suddenly changes? Not so much. That's why Liberty and 702 are having a conversation about protecting your family's financial future. This Wednesday on the Clement Manyathela Show, a Liberty expert answers your questions, helping you turn uncertainty into a plan. WhatsApp your questions about life and legacy planning to 072-702-1702 with the keyword Liberty. Join the conversation and take the next step towards securing your family's future. Liberty, in it with you on 702.
702.
The Clement Manyathela Show.
Let's walk the talk.
23 minutes before 11 o'clock, we're learning more about the cases that IDEC enrolled against the crime intelligence officers. And Advocate Peter Serunye is the Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions with IDEC, who is now testifying about their involvement in the cases against crime intelligence officers. So let's take a listen.
By way of an affidavit from the IO or so. And I do not have case law with me, but I know there's a case or two where the court would have also said, even when the state is not opposing bail, but the court is sitting, the court needs to be assisted by the two parties. And even when the state is not opposing bail, but you, as an officer of the court, you have to address the court, say why you are not, give this information to the court. So if you have compiled an affidavit, it's easier for the court. You read it into the records saying these are our reasons. And when the court evaluates whether or not the accused has met the onus of proving that it's in the interest of justice that he be released on bail, the court has the benefit of both the state and the applicant's evidence. But in this case, the bail application or the statement was not done, which was one of the things that made me realize that this team did not appear to have been ready for this bail application. I would have expected them to, because when we were in court, I then asked Brian, just before addressing the magistrate, I asked him, did you compile an affidavit? Because now I could see the magistrate was going to engage me. So I wanted to speak out of an affidavit, not just give the court information which I was not privy of. But I remember asking him about the issue of the list, and then quickly he said, no, we have other outstanding investigations against some of these people. So that is why we don't want the list of these people to be known, because if we list them, that's going to impact on our outstanding cases. And that is what I then delivered to the court when the court was asking Hlatshwayo, why not the list? I'm at the paragraph where the magistrate invites me to address him, and before doing so, I then asked Padayashi whether a bail statement or affidavit had been prepared. It had not. Mr. Padayashi explained that the witnesses had been told that if they were contacted by the accused, they should immediately report to him, so that there was no danger in that regard, and that there was a further ongoing investigation involving the same accused. Such listing of the witnesses could disclose their identities and the existence of that other investigation. This is what I delivered to the court. On that...
Sorry, so where you say in line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's a sentence that starts, so that there was no danger in that regard. It's preceded by where Padayachi explains to you that witnesses have been told that if they are contacted by accused, they should immediately report it to him. And then you say, so that there was no danger in that regard. Can you just explain what you're addressing there?
Yeah.
Where you say, so that there was no danger in that regard.
Yeah, I think what I wanted to say here was that Padayaj and his team would have discussed with the witness to say, if anyone contacts you, please let us know so that they can take steps. So I'm saying, so that there was no danger in that regard. The quicker they are alerted, the investigating team is alerted, then the danger could be averted.
Okay.
On that basis, at paragraph 31, on that basis, I then addressed the court and requested that the witness not be listed so as not to compromise the other ongoing investigations involving certain of the accused. Out of respect for the court, I could not decline to address the court when the magistrate invited me to do so. At 32, bail was fixed for the accused in the amount of 10,000 rand each, save for accused number 2, Mr. Lushaba, who was not admitted to bail at that stage owing to a separate outstanding matter, and the matter was postponed. Among the conditions imposed by the magistrate was a condition that the accused do not enter the premises of crime intelligence anywhere in the country. Neither the state nor the investigating officer had requested that condition, and the magistrate gave no reasons for imposing it. Of significance is that in the course of granting bail, the magistrate himself remarked that he was not persuaded that the state had a strong case, and indicated that these was among the consideration that moved him to admit the accused to bail. He observed that the matter was not a typical fraud or corruption case. This doubt was expressed by the presiding officer at the very first appearance. It's there on record, Commissioner. The magistrate says it after asking Advocate Hlajwayo some questions. He says, I'm not that convinced that your case is that strong because it's not like the typical cases that we deal with of fraud. And he also says it to the accused when he grants them bail. He says one of the things that I've considered is this issue, and I'm not convinced about the strength of the state case as it stands, based on the address by the prosecutor. The record speaks for itself on that issue. At 34, my involvement then ended after the first appearance.
Can I just ask you, so you stayed in court the whole time until the court rose?
Indeed, Commissioners, I stayed in court until the matter was, the bail application was finalized.
And where was Mr. Padiachi by the time court rose?
Mr. Padayashi was with us up to a certain point, I think just before the judgment, because he had to catch a flight back to Durban, Port Elizabeth. He's based there, he stays there, so I think he comes to the office after every second week. There's an arrangement that they have in the office. So I remember he had to go back, rush to airport to catch a flight. So he kept on saying to us at the time, guys, I'm going to leave you. I'm not going to stay until. So he left at some point. When the magistrate was delivering judgment, he was no longer there. He left.
More specifically, when the debate or discussion about conditions was happening, do you recall whether he was in court or not?
He was still in court, because I also asked him, that's when I asked him, do you have a bail statement? Have you prepared a bail statement? And when Hlajwayo was addressing the court about the conditions, he was still there. I think he left just before the magistrate had started delivering judgment.
Thank you.
Yes.
Advocate Serene, before you move to the 8th to August, when you come back from court and having seen what you've seen that day, from the moment where you were consulting your colleagues to what you've then witnessed in court, did you do a report to either the ID or Mr. Sisoko on the developments of the day? In particular, your concerns.
Yeah. Personally, I did not, because at least at this stage, I did not have enough information that I later got. At least at this stage, in my mind, I'm thinking there's a team that is dealing with this case, but it's strange that only one prosecutor and one investigator in court. And the DPP that I expected to be involved in this does not seem to know about this case because he's not with them, and I saw him in the office. But, and I could see that they were not ready. There was no bail statement. But after that, my involvement literally ended there. And what we do in the office, when I would have expected Advocate Latshwayo to do the reporting to the ID. That is what we do when we come back from court, especially in this type of cases. This was a very big case. I mean, generals in the intelligence service, one would have expected a report to be given to the ID to say this is how we fared, this is what happened, and the case has been postponed to such and such a case. Personally, I did not, at least at this stage, I did not make any report because I was not part of the case. My involvement was to help on that day, and I think I did my level best on that day, and that was the end of it.
Suppose the question is, I understand the report as it relates to what happened in court and where it landed, where bail was granted, conditions, and all of that. But in this instance, what you knew that day was that there was no DD, there was no senior prosecutor. They certainly didn't appear to be ready for the bail proceedings. You had to step in as somebody who's completely not involved. This was run by the most junior prosecutor, you say, at the time. It seems to me that beyond the reporting about the progress of the case and what happened in court, there was other issues related to how the matter was being conducted that ought to have been reported.
True, but remember, I'm not. Firstly, I'm not designated to the team formally in terms of the relevant provisions of Section 28, and secondly, we have these non-disclosure forms that we complete. So I cannot go beyond trying to find out even about the facts and getting myself involved that much. My request on the day to the ID was to be allowed to go and help in court, and that was granted. So I couldn't go beyond that unless I was designated formally into the case.
But the concern is that you knew that there was no DDPP and there was no senior investigator, and that your junior prosecutor did not have sufficient support. That's why you had to step in at the last minute. Now, what you are saying here is after court, you left that there. So in other words, if there was going to be further appearances or further investigations, she would still be doing that unsupervised without a DDPP overseeing her work.
Commissioner, at the time, yes, but like I said, the name of Advocate Ramsemi also was thrown in. So somehow I know that she's also part of the case. I was told that morning she was off sick.
But she's not a DDPP.
No,
you said in paragraph 20 and I think 26 that the DDPP must head every matter and they are the project owner.
That's true.
So this matter was proceeding without a DDPP and a project owner. Because even if Advocate Ramsami was assisting Advocate Latshwayo, it would be two junior prosecutors. Was that not a concern for you? For such a big matter, we're talking head of crime intelligence in the country and other generals at SAPS.
Commissioner Kumalo, it was a concern, and that is why I asked to go to court to assist. But I did not think of involving myself beyond that that point after the bail application was done, because I did not know why is this team so small. I did not know how it came about, but what I know is a case cannot be handled or done in the IDEC without the ID knowing. Therefore, I don't know how this team was composed, but honestly speaking, I didn't want to get myself involved in why why was this done? Why was not? Because I was not part of the team at the time.
You give the impression that you did not want to step on the ID's toes. You did not want to ask her difficult questions. So you said, if she made the decision, I will live with it. I won't even question it. That's the impression you are giving me.
And I'll agree to that, Commissioner. Because as the head of the office, you would have made decisions. I can't ask questions on, especially questioning how this team was composed, why not involve me, or why not involving Advocate Paul Lowe, who was overseeing this. At the time, I didn't ask myself many questions on the composition of the team, but it didn't look right to me that a case of this magnitude was, on the day of the arrest, handled by a junior. I didn't take it further than that, but it didn't look right.
Sorry, you say in paragraph 34 your involvement ended after the court appearance, but I don't think you mean end, because in paragraph 35 you say you were called to a meeting on the 8th of August, and at that meeting the ID informed you that she had decided to include you in the matter. So it was not end forever.
That is correct, Chair.
So there was an intervening period during which you were not involved. That is after the court appearance in June, and then in August you are brought in by the ID herself.
That is correct, Chair. I'm saying my involvement ended there with the bail application because I was not part of that team. I was not supposed to be part of the team. I went there and helped with the bail application, and my involvement in as far as they ended there.
Yes.
But coincidentally, about 2 weeks after, then I'm called for a meeting where I'm formally then involved or designated by the ID into the matter. After the bail application, I did not work on this case. I did not discuss it. I continued with my work. I'm overseeing a group. I'm also having my own cases. I'm doing it. I concentrated on my work. I forgot about this case until on the 8th, when I was called to a meeting by the ID.
The 8th of August.
On the 8th of August, and which is then on paragraph 35. On or about 8 August.
Maybe before you discuss, you go to paragraph 8. Let me ask my question. And again, it goes back to wanting to understand the reporting and role of Mr. Sissoko. You have this experience now on the 27th of June, and you note all these wrong things about it. Isn't that typically something that would have had to go into the discussion? Because part of it sounds like resource allocation, right? Isn't that something that would have typically gone into the reporting to is it OMC or something, when you make those monthly reports and get it addressed there? Is that not?
I agree, Commissioner. It's something that ought to have been raised in that structure. I'm not sure if it was at a later stage, but from the date of the bail application when the case was postponed until up to the 8th, I don't remember. I don't think we had an OMC, but these are type of issues that are dealt with in the OMC. Resource requirements, where there's shortages, and even these challenges that how is the team dealing with such a big case and there's no deputy.
So you say you don't remember whether it was raised or that you had a meeting after that. Is that?
That is correct. Between the 27th, when the case was in court, and the 8th of August, when I was involved in the case. But then from the moment I was involved, and the commission will see, as I'm calling meetings of this team, I'm also copying Mr. Salk. I'm involving him in the matter.
And where is Mr. Lowe in all of this by the time you get called on the 8th of August and you are now told this is your matter? Where is he?
He was never involved in the case at all, Commissioner. He was not part of this case at all.
Ever?
Even though the type of case resided in the group that he was overseeing, but he was never involved. He was not designated in this case.
Okay, thank you. And do you know why? Did you ever get an explanation, even informally, why you are the one that's been called on the 8th of August and he's not involved?
I did not ask why, but as I'm going through my statement, Commissioner, you'll see that I take it when I was called in, maybe it might have been the ID got, like I left a message with a PA, and she then gave a go ahead.
Okay.
Maybe because I helped on the first day. Let me. I nearly said Somar. Let me proceed with Sirunya because he helped on that day. I think
you could have said Somar. We've had worse.
Yes. So I believe she involved me and not him because I went to help on the first day, and because when she called me on the 8th, she said, "I've decided to involve a DDPP in the case, and I want you to be part of it."
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Just to correct you on the intervening period, you said that after the court appearance, you were not involved until the 8th of August 2025, when you were called to a meeting and told that you would be included in the matter. The court appearance was on 27 June.
27 June.
Yes, 2025.
I'm very sorry.
You said the intervening period was 2 weeks, so it was over a month.
It was over a month. I'm thinking the appearance was on the 27th of July. It was actually on the 27th of June.
Yes, all right.
So those are some of the questions being asked to Advocate Peter Sirunye. He's got to account as well as the Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions at IDEC. How did he respond to how IDEC was dealing with cases against crime intelligence? And as you heard earlier, he says the state didn't even request that condition. Remember when the magistrate said, okay, you're released on bail, Khumalo and co., but said, Khumalo, you're not allowed to report for work. That's a condition that was not even requested by the prosecutor. It wasn't requested even by investigators from IDEC. So, and he also says that the magistrate already early on, when this matter was before court, the magistrate had already indicated that he was not convinced that this case was strong enough, the case of fraud and corruption, and yet IDEC still continued with it. And now, as the Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions, the question is, what did you do to intervene when you see that there were junior prosecutors or investigators working on this case? What did you do about it? Did you intervene? And how soon did you intervene? It's a minute now before 11.
So the other day I get this call from an insurance company. The lady asked me if I'm comfortable with my excess. I said, excess? Well, according to my therapist, I'm apparently a little too comfortable. But sometimes you just need to make sure. You know what I mean? She just put down the phone. I don't get it.
Don't get that insurance. Get Pineapple. It's easy to get and online. Pineapple FSP 48650 is underwritten by Omart Insure Limited, a licensed non-life insurer and authorized FSP. T's and C's apply.
No two vibes are the same. That's why the new Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 8 is built to adapt to your aesthetic. With its iconic flip design, a customizable flex window, and Galaxy AI, it keeps up with the way you live. That's on Vibe Maxing. Pre-order the new Galaxy Z Flip 8 and get up to 1,000 Rand worth of accessories. Offer available at participating stores until 12 August. T's and C's apply.
To walk the talk is to turn words into meaningful actions. And it's what we at 702 are committed to doing every day. We're also committed to following the rules set out by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission's Code of Conduct. To give you balanced programming, fair comment, and accurate news. But if we stumble along the way and you feel we're not living up to the code, let us know on comment@702.co.za. And if after that you're still not happy, you can direct your complaint in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission, PO Box 412365, Craig Hall 2024. For more, visit bccsa.co.za.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I'm Sfiso Zulu. IDEX Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions, Peter Serunye, is giving evidence at the Madlanga Commission as the organization continues to be under the spotlight. Serunye has been testifying about his role in IDEX's controversial arrest of crime intelligence head Dumisani Khumalo and the unit's technical support services head Dineo Mukweli. The Commission has heard over the past weeks that the arrests were flawed and based on claims that were largely unsubstantiated. IDEC arrested them following claims that Mukwele was unqualified for her position, but then it turned out that in fact she was overqualified for the role. Serunye is presenting his version of events.
I have been subpoenaed by the Commission to give evidence regarding my involvement in and knowledge of IDEC's criminal investigation into the allegations against Lieutenant General Samuel Dumisani Khumalo and 6 other crime intelligence officials regarding the appointment of Brigadier Mukwele, commonly referred to as the Mukwele matter in brackets, State versus Khumalo and others, and the matter of Major.
The murder of a teacher in Tsakani has triggered search and seizure operations at identified schools in Carltonville and Orange Farm this morning. The teacher was attacked yesterday on his way to school. Authorities say today's operation is aimed at combating gangsterism, the possession of dangerous weapons by learners, substance abuse and other forms of criminal activity. Kosikona Malingamnisi has more.
Today's operation comes a day after a teacher from Michael Zulu Primary School in Tsakani was shot dead less than a kilometer from the school. The 29-year-old male educator was walking to school with a group of learners in the morning yesterday when he was attacked. The motive for the murder is unknown. Gauteng Education MEC Lebogang Maile has condemned the killing, describing it as a devastating blow not only to the education sector but to society as a whole. Maile says the tragedy underscores the urgent need for communities, law enforcement and government to work together to combat crime and protect schools. See Kona Malingamnisi, Eyewitness News.
Business Leadership South Africa has welcomed President Cyril Ramaphosa's endorsement of the first report by the Eskom restructuring task team. BLSA says this provides long-awaited certainty on the creation of an independent transmission system operator. The organization says separating the national grid from Eskom's generation business is essential to create a competitive market, attract investment and lower electricity prices over time. Anelita Fandese has more.
BLSA Chief Executive Busi Mavuso says the President has made government's policy direction clear and there should be no further debate about establishing an independent grid operator. The report recommends immediately strengthening the independence of the National Transmission Company South Africa, including separate governance structures, independent leadership and ring-fence finances. BLSA says those steps will also clear the way for the launch of the South African wholesale electricity market, expected later this year. However, the group warns that implementation will be the real test. The Eskom restructuring task team has 3 months to produce a detailed implementation plan, while Eskom is being urged to support the process despite the legal and financial complexities involved. Anelita Fandese, Eyewitness News.
And 3 lions at a Tokyo zoo have died from suspected heat stroke, and others are under treatment as the big cats struggle with high humidity. Parts of Japan have hit 40 degrees in recent weeks, with thousands of people hospitalized as well. 10 of the 16 lions at Tamazu Park have suffered symptoms such as loss of appetite and decreased activity since mid-July. Gold is trading at $4,060.12 an ounce. The rand is at 16.52 to the dollar, 22.17 to the pound, 19 rand exactly to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $85.13 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got delays in Calvin along the N3 North. This is between the Marlborough Drive exit and the Buccleuch interchange. That's due to roadworks there. There's also roadworks causing delays leaving Boksburg along the N12 West. They're right after Atlas Road. Please be on the lookout there.
A fine day in store for Gauteng. The temperatures will peak at highs between 20 and 22 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour. IDEX Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions, Peter Serunye, is giving evidence at the Madlanga Commission as the organization continues to be under the spotlight.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
Let's walk the talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856.
92.7 and 106 FM.
It's 7 minutes after 11 o'clock. Dumelang, welcome to the third and final hour of the Clement Manyathela Show. Thank you for staying with us here on 702. It's time now for
Clement Manyathela. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856.
92.7
and 106 FM. 702.
World of Work.
our World of Work feature. That's what we do every single Tuesday, just after the news at 11 o'clock. And today we're focusing on businesses and how to tell if the business is actually ready to grow. As we know, every business owner dreams of growth, right? More clients, more revenue, you want more reach. But growth without readiness can break a business faster than staying small ever would. So let's take a simple example of a man who starts a small catering business from his home kitchen. And it does well. Word spreads, orders increase, and he's turning a healthy profit on a small scale. And he's excited by the momentum. So he ends up renting a large commercial kitchen, hires a full staff, takes out a loan for equipment, and starts chasing the big corporate contracts. And within a year, he's drowning. The overheads are too high. The systems aren't in place to manage bigger orders. Cash flow can't keep up with the new costs. And the business, which was once profitable, collapses under its own expansion. And I'd like to hear from entrepreneurs out there, business people who started businesses. And I want to know what your stories of scaling up were. Have you ever scaled your business up prematurely? How did you scale your business up in a way that didn't ultimately lead to the destruction of your business, or for you to end up drowning under the collapse of expansion? And do you understand what growth actually looks like for your business? Share your experiences with us on 011-883-0702 or WhatsApp's on 072-702-1702. Tuto Mutsie is going to guide us through this conversation. He's the CEO of Tamani. Kuto, thank you so much for making some time for us. Good morning.
Morning, Clement. Thank you for having me, and morning to your listeners.
Thank you so much, Tuto. So let's start with just the early warning signs. What are those early warning signs that a business is growing in the wrong way? I mean, it's busy, yes, but it's not actually healthier.
I think it's what you touched on in your introduction around, the working capital and cash flow management. I think I first want to start off by saying, entrepreneurship and business in its own is difficult, and oftentimes entrepreneurs led by instinct do make the right calls about expansion. And what they maybe also need to look at, besides sort of the instinct, is some key indicators. And one of those indicators for me, Clement, is really a good understanding of what your gross margin is, as your business is growing and expanding. Because what you want to be able to achieve is, as you're expanding, in the example that you mentioned with the kitchen, you don't want to be eroding the margin that your business is making, because ultimately what that will affect is your cash flow. And then you find, that businesses have, potentially overestimated how much their fixed costs have risen by compared to how much cash flow they're bringing into their business. And that's when they tend to get into a little bit of trouble.
And it's so tough because any business person wants to see expansion, right? You don't want to operate in that small little kitchen at home for the rest of your life, and that's why we're trying to see under what circumstances is that expansion premature. So I'm interested though in what businesses or business owners should check first before saying yes to the bigger contracts or more clients or even just expansion.
Sure. They should check a couple of things. The first one is what we call the quality of revenue, which is linked to the margin. So often, again, in your example, as business owners or small business owners are very excited to maybe get a corporate contract. But when you actually look at the detail of that contract, you will find that, yes, you will be billing or getting more business from that specific customer, but in fact, you're making less on a margin from selling that product. And what do we mean by margin is that, the costs to deliver that service are slightly more expensive to a smaller customer, or the revenue you're actually able to generate on a per unit basis to the bigger customer is less. So it actually then squeezes your gross profit margin because, typically in these sort of arrangements, when smaller businesses are getting big contracts from bigger corporate players, there is kind of like this unwritten request for better pricing from small businesses, and that ultimately then leads to what we call margin erosion. The second one to look out for is then working capital management. Again, in this example, when you're typically dealing with bigger corporates or international customers, what you'll tend to see is that their payment periods will extend. So now you're used to dealing with either private individuals or smaller businesses where your payment terms are either 15 or 30 days, where with bigger corporate players, you're then looking at 45, 60, and sometimes in instances where we've seen with multinationals up to 120 days for your payments to be made. So that makes it then quite difficult because, a lot of money is going out in terms of spending to produce the product or the service that you're providing to the customer, but equally the money coming in from your client is taking a bit longer. And then that's when you start having the cash flow crunch, which businesses experience.
Okay, so now I see, at least I understand better why sometimes I see like a business being too busy, but it's still failing. Because I've never really come to understand that. I think with your margin erosion and what you've explained, it really makes a lot of sense. So what's a simple, practical way for a small business owner who doesn't have a finance background to check if they can actually afford to grow?
So the first step, and I know it's counter to your question, is that business owners need to take accountability for understanding their numbers, right?
Okay,
and by that, I'm not saying you need to become an expert from an accounting perspective, but you've got to understand the basics of what drives your business in terms of that margin erosion. So that's the first one. And then a lot of small business owner, medium business owners initially do run their businesses, purely by looking at the bank account, which is not necessarily entirely the best way, but it's still a good measure. But in doing that, one of the things that you immediately want to be able to start picking up and at least, seeing some themes is having a view of, how often or how quickly are you having to pay your suppliers compared to when the money comes in from your customers. And if that gap is too wide, and by that I mean if you're often having to pay your customers faster, if you're often having to pay your suppliers faster than when you're receiving payments from your customers, that's normally a red flag in terms of having potential cash flow issues. And a lot of this information, Clement, as I've alluded to in my piece, is that it's all data that's available for businesses, because, business owners have access to their bank accounts. They've got a very good understanding of their selling price and what they sell to each customer. I think the gap comes in, sort of being intentional about looking at that data and understanding what story is it telling you about your business.
I've got some calls coming through on 011-883-0702. WhatsApp's on 072-702-1702. We're speaking to Tuto Mutsiye, who is the CEO of Tamani, and we're having a conversation this morning on our World of Work feature about just business growth and how do you tell as a business owner that your business, your enterprise is actually ready to grow? What are you paying attention to? And have you made mistakes where you thought, okay, I see the profit I'm making and therefore I'm going to expand, and it was a mistake because that was too premature? Or have you done it successfully, the expansion of your business? Share your experiences with us on 011-883-0702. Let's start with Tommy, who's calling us from Roodepoort. Tommy, good morning.
Hi, morning, Clement. How are you?
I'm all right, brother. How are you doing?
Good. Yes, Clement, in my experience, one of your biggest risks when you grow are the people you employ. South Africans are not necessarily loyal to their employers. You have a lot of pilferage and whatever happens. So you would have a good plan of growth and you would have planned, I'm going to make so much, I'm going to do that, and then things just go haywire. Because you find that your employees are taking what they should not be taking. They are conniving with customers to take from you. They are conniving with other entrepreneurs to take from you. So that's a massive risk. I've walked away from a business in 2016 just precisely because of that. At the moment, I've got, for instance, I drop off people. There's a guy who drops off people for me, and they are employees on a daily basis. Just to find out that while my buses should be parked, those employees and my drivers are busy going up and down. Now, with the diesel price going up, suddenly they are beginning to pour too much diesel, or the costs go up. So what I'm trying to say, I understand what he's saying, and he is right, and he is that's how you should do it. But there is this conundrum in South Africa. Just a last story. I've got a youngster I taught. He's in Dubai and he's now into Airbnbs. And he says to me, Toby, I need you to maybe organize people to come assist, the maintenance and whatnot of my B&Bs. We have not started the project simply because he says, hey, he understands in South Africa the customers walk away with your kettles, your microwaves, and all those stuff. So this whole thing, it's an entire country problem. We are sitting in a situation where we can't grow as a country because we are taking and thieving from each other and not using that loot for productive purposes, merely consumption. Because the people who still don't start other businesses, they just consume and they will take the next loot.
Yeah, got you. Tommy, in Roodepoort, thank you so much for sharing that with us. Yeah, Tuto, do you agree with Tommy that sometimes it's actually employees who can stunt your growth?
Clement, I think I agree with Tommy that, the right people for your business are very important. But I also believe that business owners or leaders must take extreme accountability. And by that, I mean, a lot of the issues that Tommy raised, in my view, are in the control of the business owner. And what do I mean by that is that, people are creatures of incentives, right? So if you are having, staff either stealing or there's pilferage of your stock items, or they're not operating in terms of how you expect them to, you've got to internalize to find out why. Is there maybe an issue around talent management, how staff is incentivized? That's what I'll sort of ask. The other one is around, how do you as the business owner and owners put better control to manage some of those risks? Because, yes, you will have employees who take chances and maybe use, company assets for their personal use. Or my question would be, what controls can you put in place to minimize that risk? So although I appreciate that there can be, people challenges in the business, I don't agree with the narrative that it is a South African issue. I think it's an issue anywhere in the world, where if you don't hire the right staff, if you don't incentivize them correctly, then more than likely they won't be working towards whatever strategic vision or ambition you have for your business.
Mm-hmm. Kamogelo, you are calling us from Pretoria. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement and guests. I have lived that, where I had a business that boomed so quickly. And at the time where I saw that I'm ready to scale to another level was when I could go on holiday and I would know that my business is safe. I have employees who are able to manage the day-to-day activities of the business. And so I needed to scale to another level. But at that point, I met one guy who had a franchise of stores that were mostly popular in shopping malls. And he told me that, I see you're doing very good, but you are doing the same mistake that I had also made, because if you're going to rent a place in a mall, you're going to have to pay rent and as well as look at other costs and staff payment, even when your business is not doing well. And it's in the business of things can
Oh, Kamogelo, I'm sorry, my brother. The line is deteriorating so bad. It is. So let me put you back. Let's try and see if we can establish that. But yeah, Kamogelo says that he knew that his business was ready for growth when he could leave employees on their own and the margins remained unchanged. But he was also telling us a story of another businessman who was sharing just some mistakes he has made that he picked up Kamogelo was also making. So let's see if we can get that line back up. Armando, you are in Kempton Park. Hi.
Yeah, good day.
Hi.
You know what? An incredibly beautiful subject today. I've been in business for about 30 years, working in the gym industry. And during the COVID period, everything closed down and stuff. For that reason, debit orders would have stopped. But my members were so amazing that most of them paid during the COVID lockdown. They paid their debit orders. And what we did as a company is we gave all of those people a 1-year free membership. And they could have chosen a relative or a friend to get a year free. So if you'd paid for 4 or 5 months during lockdown, I would say thank you, but here's a year free for you. Not 4 months, a year. And if you didn't want a year and you were one of those great members as well, you could opt to give that 1 year free membership to a relative or a friend. What my sales guy does, who's earning 30 grand a month, young 24-year-old earning 30K a month, what he does is he sees the opportunity and he starts selling those memberships for cash, 500 and 600 rand for a year on the sly, colluding with some of the members. So he sells, so eventually you've got 100 or 200 people on your books that he is now pocketing 600, 800, 1,000 rand per person for the free membership. And those are people that were meant to join normally. So a guy walks into him and says, how much is it to join? He goes, hey man, with this COVID thing, the company has now given a 1 year free to existing members. He sells it off. And so I want to tell you that it doesn't matter sometimes if the guy's earning 30K a month or 10K a month. If it's in him to steal and to lie and to collude with clients, it's in him. And I must tell you something. There are other stories, not only with the free memberships, other stories where a person's membership comes up for renewal. Then what he does is he says to that, don't worry, here's give me 1,000 rand, I'll give you a 2-year membership for that. He then goes to the computer and he updates that client's membership for a full 2 years, and we don't know. And that is because you trust this guy that you walk in.
That's hectic.
And he was his personality was amazing. He was wonderful. How are you today, sir? And we treat our staff like absolute gold.
So how soon enough, Armando, I'm interested, how soon enough do you then pick up that something is fishy here? There are people here whose memberships are updated, but we're not seeing money come in.
Yeah, so in this case, what had happened, we just carry on. It's 6 months, 7 months down the line, And then one of these members who paid the salesperson cash, somewhere he picks up trouble in the gym. His cell phone got stolen. Or he picked up an altercation with another member. So we go, sorry, bud, come in, let's have a look. How did your cell phone get stolen? What is your membership number? How did you join? And this guy now starts getting upset. And then he goes, I gave this guy cash. I said, but where's your receipt? No, I didn't get a receipt. And in many cases, the client did not collude with the sale. Let me tell you something else. This will blow your mind, man. We've got a generator during the outages, and in the generator has to run now when there's now load shedding. So what we do is we go and buy 10 of these 20 yellow jerry cans and fill them with diesel, so that if the generator runs out, our guy comes in and fills the generator with diesel so it can keep going, so the business can rock and roll. My staff, the cleaner, the security guard, and the member colludes. They take the diesel when I'm not there, or I can't be there all the time. They fill their cars with the jerry cans. Listen to this. They then fill the jerry can with water so that we can't pick up what has happened.
Yeah, that's crazy. That really is. Amando in Kempton Park, thank you for your call. Some WhatsApps on 072-702-1702.
Morning, Clement. Morning to your guest, and morning to 702 Land from Johannesburg South. Clement, let me first start by saying the gentleman that just said South Africans are not necessarily good employees. I would like to disagree with that. Secondly, yes, it is difficult growing your business if you don't understand business. I'm in business. I'm steadily growing my business, combined with the fear of, am I quickly expanding my business or not? One of the biggest challenges that I have as an entrepreneur is obviously working capital and being able to keep a healthy cash flow in my business, so that I'm able to, calculate what are my what are my profits and what are my, and all that. So financial literacy, I think, is very important, especially for new budding entrepreneurs, because if you don't understand finances, then you are bound to make mistakes, and those mistakes will cost you dearly. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And that's the point Tuto was making earlier on. So Tuto, what practical first steps can a business owner take to start actually listening to what the business is telling them? Because you've said that, a business is always communicating with its leaders.
And I think, Clement, it links back to what your two previous callers have spoken about. I think it's KG and Amant. The principle of what they're speaking to is about the lack of systems and processes, right? I think in KG's example, which I love, he spoke about how he was able to grow his business to a point that he was able to go on holiday. That speaks to a couple of things. One, it obviously speaks to the fact that he's got the right people or talent in his business. So he's developed some sort of process or system to recruit the right people in his business. It also speaks to the fact that he's got the right processes, that work can still happen, right? So it sounds like that business was able to attract customers, sales, get them into the business, and deliver whatever service or product they needed to. So those are positive things. And then specifically also with Amand, what it shows is the lack of systems and processes in that instance. And the incidences that he mentioned, I think, is a great example that, although in the moment, I can imagine as the owner, you're quite frustrated, and probably stronger words in terms of how those employees are treating sort of, your loyalty and how they're treating your business. But it's also an opportunity to say, well, these are actually gaps in my businesses from a risk perspective, right? Because how is my salesperson able to onboard new gym members and they pay him on the side? So the reflection there is to say, well, how do we make sure we create a process that doesn't allow for a salesperson to intercept money being paid on the side? And you can get into the detail of how do you maybe do better customer management and make sure that everything is digital and make sure that before a membership card is produced for somebody to come and use the gym, it's either signed off independently by someone other than the salesperson. So that for me is the opportunity that's presented by a month scenario. So in terms of your question of, what can business owners look for before they start thinking about scaling, is reflecting on, do I have the right systems and processes in place that, one, can consistently bring customers into my business independent of me, as in Haugelo's example, and two, that my team is able to still execute and deliver without me having to sort of micromanage them.
Yeah.
And then lastly, do my customers pay? I'm not the one as a business owner having to phone my customers to pay me. There's a finance or an accounting department that's making sure that the customers are paying on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
So at the heart of it, and what underpins the ability for businesses to scale, it does then become around how you're managing your risk. And the best way you can manage that risk is by having the right systems and processes in place. Yeah.
Tuto, thank you so much, man. This was such an informative conversation. Tuto Mutsie is the CEO of Tamani. It's just after 11:30. Mbali has the latest in Eyewitness News headlines. Mbali, more revelations about IDEX irregularities coming out there at the Madlanga Commission.
That's correct, Clement. A very good morning. Well, the Madlanga Commission has now heard further evidence of alleged irregularities in IDEC's handling of the arrest of senior crime intelligence officials. IDEC Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions, Peter Serunye, is testifying about his role in the arrests of Crime Intelligence Head Dumisani Khumalo and the unit's Technical Support Services Head Dineo Mukwele. Parliament's Standing Committee on Finance has bumped heads over when the new board of the Public Investment Corporation should appear before it. Committee Chairperson Joe Masangwanyi says he acceded to a request from the Finance Minister to delay their appearance until they had more time to get to grips with the governance and admin issues. But some political parties were not happy with this decision. And South Africa is looking to China to help unlock more renewable energy investment. This comes as Electricity Minister Hosientsho Ramaphosa pitches the country as a prime destination for clean energy projects. He was speaking at the South Africa-China Energy Investment Conference in Beijing. Well, those are the headlines. This EWN and more at midday or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
While travelling in Boksburg, we've got delays on the N12 West. That's right after Atlas Road. That's due to roadworks causing these delays. There's also still moving traffic on the N3 North in the Bedfordview area between Van Buren Road and the Kedulis interchange. While in Germiston, an accident reported on the M2 East right near Refinery Road causing delays. There's also queuing traffic on the M2 West. This is now between Bakran Interchange and Main Reef Road. Then if you're traveling within the Baklu Interchange area, do expect heavy delays on the N3 North, the N1 North, as well as the N1 North towards Midrand. That's due to an accident near Allendale Road, slowing down traffic. Please approach with care. Try to use the R55 through Sunning Hill or even the R21 through Tembisa if you want to avoid this backlog. And then if you're heading towards the city of Tshwane, a little bit of a delay along the N1 North. This is right after Samrand Road, an accident reported there. More updates at the top of the hour with Karabo Jali. Your last update from me, Amo Ramela. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
John Perlman. Weekday afternoons,
3 to 6. I'm looking at the number of interactions recorded between yourselves and younger South Africans, 16 and 29, the age range, 486,000 of those. How do you feel, though, about the number of people who actually registered to vote for the first time? 292,000, which is quite a bit below 486,000. Would that be the statistical mix you would have expected?
It is underwhelming for us, but if you consider that we have added other registration modalities, registration has been almost equal.
John Perlman.
3 to 6 on 702.
Everyone has their first, that life-changing moment when the music spoke to your soul and you both listened. With global icons Kamasi Washington, Angelique Kidjo, Themba Mkhize and Africa Mkhize, Ibrahim Malouf, Floetry, Manana, Internet Ati, and over 40 world-class acts. This is Jazz Reignited, the Standard Bank Joy of Jazz, 25th and 26th September. Buy your weekend pass now via Ticketmaster.
Spinazonke celebrates a major milestone. The online gaming powerhouse from Hollywood Bets now offers over 3,000 games. Spinazonke boasts unbeatable diversity and range, featuring a wealth of games from across the gaming spectrum. Over 35 of the world's top game design studios feature in the sizzling slots on Spinazonke. Gripping graphics and sublime sound ensure the most immersive gaming experience imaginable. Play now.
Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710.
Your office is more than just a place to work. It's a reflection of your success. At Desk and Chair, we help you elevate your workspace with locally manufactured desks and a wide range of chairs to suit your style and budget. Our expert consultants are with you every step of the way, from planning to delivery and assembly. Visit our showroom in Midrand or shop online at deskandchair.co.za. Desk and Chair. Think, feel, work better.
Humans are very good at planning some things. A weekend bribe, being first in the queue for fresh cinnamon rolls. But the big things? Like what happens to the people we love if life suddenly changes? Not so much. That's why Liberty and 702 are having a conversation about protecting your family's financial future. This Wednesday on the Clement Manyathela Show, a Liberty expert answers your questions, helping you turn uncertainty into a plan. WhatsApp your questions about life and legacy planning to 072-702-1702 with the keyword Liberty. Join the conversation and take the next step towards securing your family's future. Liberty, in it with you on 702.
702.
Health and wellness.
22 minutes before 12 o'clock, it's time now for our health and wellness feature. And this health and wellness feature is brought to you by Cipla. And today on our health and wellness feature, I want us to talk about just healthy eating. Because often we talk about the unaffordability of healthy eating. But actually, we have stopped incorporating cultural or traditional foods as part of our daily healthy diet. I mean, when you look at over the past few decades, South Africans have quietly come to associate healthy eating with Western foods, right? People will often choose kale over morogo or salmon over tinned pilchards. So some dietitians, like our guest today, they argue this shift is quite a big part of why healthy eating now feels unaffordable and out of reach for many households, when in fact, many of our own traditional homegrown foods are just as nutritious, often more so, and considerably cheaper. So over the years, we have shifted heavily towards a Western frame of what counts as healthy, to the point that traditional foods are now seen as inferior, which then feeds directly into the narrative that healthy eating is unaffordable and out of reach for many households. So I want to know from you this morning, how do you make regular food healthy? How do you incorporate your traditional foods as part of your daily healthy diet? Or do you still look at healthy eating through the prism of Western food? Let me know on 011-883-0702. WhatsApp's on 072-702-1702. Reabetri Mokoko is a registered dietitian who's going to guide us through this conversation. Rea, thank you so much for making time. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement. Thank you so much.
So I don't know how many conversations I've had of us talking, with other dietitians about how unaffordable, healthy eating is. But why do you think many South Africans have come to see Western food as the benchmark sort of for healthy eating?
I think it comes from influence. Look, social media plays a big role nowadays where things that are trending, it's hardly ever traditional foods. It's more of Western diets, quick fixes and things like that. So social media has a big impact on currently how we're eating, and we see it as more convenience. We see it as more of a status. So it's a lot of factors that have influenced where we are right now.
Okay, so how has the shift away from growing and preserving our own food at home changed the way South Africans eat today?
So our diets are mainly influenced a lot by the Western diets. Now when people eat traditional foods or cultural foods, it's mainly at events where there's something where you'll know that you'll find morogo, you'll find ting. But in our own households, those are things that we don't prepare a lot of, or we hardly ever prepare, So it's that thing that we have shifted now where our main staples are things such as your rice, your veggies, that the broccoli, like things that were previously not seen as a big staple by the past generations. So that's how it has changed and influenced our diet. It's become more Western, more convenience, more fast food.
Yeah, and in fact, if we stuck to the traditional foods we've consistently over the years eaten, we wouldn't be complaining really about the unaffordability of eating healthy. Let's take morogo, for instance, versus kale.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
Nutritionally, how do they actually compare? And why has the more expensive import become the face of healthy greens?
Look, marketing plays a big role when it comes to these things. There's marketing, there's chasing the status to say, now I'm making a kale salad. And then maybe we think it's uncool to be like, Kija morogo wa dinawa or something like, morogo kopane le dinawa, kija thelele. Maybe it seems uncool for it to be like that, because right now we go with what's trendy, we go with what seems to be cool. And right now, when it comes to greens, in the shops, what is more trendy and what seems to be quote unquote more healthy, it seems to kale. But look, we grew up with our grandmothers plowing the fields and growing their own greens. And at the end of the day, you have morogo, and they even have ways of cooking and preserving those morogos that you can even have them when they're out of season. So nutritionally, look, the greens have plus minus the same type of nutrition. So it's not like you are getting something extraordinary when you're eating kale instead of morogo or like So it's just that thing of trying to taste things that are a bit trendier. And we can also say another thing is that, yes, morogo, the traditional morogo is not that easily accessible, but it's because of the low demand, because we hardly ever cook such things. So where there's no demand, what shops will do or what manufacturers will do is that they will decrease. Like even things like dinawa, the shelves where they stock dinawa becoming smaller and smaller because there's less of a demand for that from us.
Yeah, I mean it's so disappointing that many households hardly buy dry legumes and and make that the protein of the main meal. I mean, even though most people in South Africa grew up eating the beans growing up.
Yes.
And while they're not only a good source of protein, they are also an affordable source of protein that is low in fat.
Affordable source of protein, low in fat, high in fiber. So literally a source of protein that's good for the heart.
Can help even reduce cholesterol. And it's affordable. So what more do you want?
Yes.
So what practical advice can you give to our listeners this morning who are saying, okay, Ria, I hear you and I want to try and use traditional foods as my healthy diet? Where do they begin? Because a lot of them will say, yeah, but in the past, households in rural areas used to grow different types of, the spinach and but that's different now with how things have evolved.
Look, where we can start, you can also start growing these things yourself in your own garden. So what I've done is that when my father plows things, I'll ask him for the seeds. So that I can plant these things myself in my own yard. I know in some locations they actually still do sell certain types of morogos, dinawa, and things like that, where they get them from the rural areas and they sell them. And then how do we start serving and cooking and prepping them and having them on a daily basis? So I've started a rule in my house now where I say at least on the table for dinner, one item must be a traditional item. So I'm also trying to make my kids familiar with traditional food. So I don't want my kids, when they come across morodu at an event and they're like, ew, what's this? So I'm educating my own kids by making it a familiar thing. So every meal item, every dinner, there is some sort of traditional item, whether I get morogo, whether I get dinawa, whether I get mborobe bamabele, there is something that is there that I'm like, just taste it, just try it out. Because of course, I'm also to blame that I've neglected that part for a while, but right now, because I realize that, wait, the health picture in South Africa is changing. We are becoming so westernized, so convenient. And if you look at our health stats, they also do reflect that with the change in the diets that we are eating, the health picture is not looking so good. Obesity is shooting up, high blood pressure, cholesterol, and all those things. And this goes hand in hand, if you look, with the changes in the diets that we are consuming. So I'm like, I need to start with my own household by correcting it, by ensuring that with every meal, my kids know, whether it is mautwana, whether it was ever, there will be a traditional food item. And if they haven't tried, the other day they made ox liver. And look, at first they were like, what is this? We've never had this. But when they ate it, they were like, "This actually tastes good." I'm like, "You see, let's keep it up. Let's keep it up."
Yeah, I'm actually embarrassed that even when I have ting, it will be because ke go mmereko somewhere on a lenyalo mmereko, and it's not that you are deliberately thinking about those foods and making that part of your healthy diet. So another example I'm thinking of is fish, for instance, right? It's high in omega-3 fats. Most people punt salmon. But then tinned pilchards offer the same at a fraction of the price, and that's what we grew up with.
Much more affordable, because salmon per kilogram is how much, per 100 grams is how much? It's like 300 and something, ridiculous. Not every household can afford salmon. And how many, even if you have it, how many times a month can you afford to have it? When fish is something that we are supposed to have at least twice a week based on like a healthy diet, because it gives us the omega-3s that our bodies need, the healthy fats. So, I mean, when you compare salmon, yes, great, but tinned fish is the superior because it's affordable, easily accessible to everybody. And it's something that we grew up on. But, you know, when we now starting to make money, we're like, oh, but who are certain foods remind me of poverty, etc., etc. But you don't realize how we were eating healthy. Like, you know, we have trauma. Like, it's like we're always trying to heal from things, but we are shifting away from things that actually nourish our body.
Absolutely. And I'm one of those who are like, oh, I ate that thing a lot when I was young. It reminds me of poverty. I don't want to see it. But those are nutritionist things, and they're cheaper. So 011-883-0702. I want to take some calls, WhatsApps as well on 072-702-1702. How do you make your regular, traditional kind of food your normal daily, part of your normal daily healthy diet? You know, when we talk about food, healthy food, you know, or healthy eating being unaffordable, we're thinking of it in Western ways, right? And yes, food is expensive, and the current economic climate is not making it any easier. But the food fashion and the trends of, you know, in order to be healthy, you need to be drinking a matcha or, you know, coffee, or have salmon and asparagus on your menu is also just worsening the crisis. But we have an opportunity here to control the situation by creating awareness on how healthy our cultural foods are and encouraging more and more people to go back to growing some of their own produce as well. Let's go to some WhatsApps now on 072-702-1702.
Morning, Clement and team. Clement, I'm still a big fan of traditional dishes. I believe those are the healthiest. I mean, we grew up eating them. Our grandmothers grew up feeding that to us. They also grew up eating them. And the fact that the older generation lived longer and seemed stronger than the current generation. I'm not saying the current generation is weak, but it shows that the nutrition back then was really the one to go for. So yeah, I'm still sticking to that. Semin Albertine.
The one other food product that has a very good source of protein, actually has more protein than beef and chicken, that we have always overlooked and has been our traditional staple for many years. And I've had this guy who was being interviewed on Radio 2000 sometime 2 weeks ago, and he was talking about how he has commercialized the Mopane worm, in such a way that he has made it accessible to everybody across the country. And I was so excited. And I actually ordered, I got to enjoy the dried Mopane from him, as well as he also makes dried Mopane soup, as well as Mopane protein shots. That is something that we need to explore, especially with our indigenous foods in Africa. I think the guy's business is called Sol M Foods.
Morning.
Clement, back in the days, we used to eat morohoali puts, they used to be blended with crushed nuts or
I remember that.
Peanut butter with milk. And, those were good sources of nutrition. We used to eat masonja, good sources of protein as well. We used to eat like boreku, mabele, a lot, and especially bohobe bating. We had probiotics from natural foods, the foods that we ate. But these days we are going to pharmacies every time when we need nutrition, but we left those foods that we used to eat that they were packed with nutrition.
Yeah. So, Ria, do you think that the part of the issue here is that we are too obsessed with sort of taste? Because I think we also need to have a conversation about how we prepare these foods. I think when we were growing up, mopani worms were just, they would dry them, and then but onion, but tamati nyana mola, good to go, Whereas now we're trying to just westernize everything. That's why even the spinach, we think it's good to be eaten when you're making it like a creamy spinach, because that's what you've seen. But how important is it that we also go back to how were these things made? And yes, make them tasty, but don't be too obsessed with all these other spices that end up taking away the nutrition.
No, 100%. Before I respond to, I just want to concur with one of your listeners that Mopani worms are packed. The protein that they have per 100 grams compared to beef and chicken is way more, and then the additional fiber, like they are highly nutritious. If you can get, I share a lot of Mopani worms on my page because I'm a big fan of them. And yes, definitely, I think, and that's another thing. If you look at the way we cook, our cooking methods are full of spices, full of salt, full of the beef stock, full of additives. And at the end of the day, that's what also contributes to the health picture that we are seeing of the high blood pressure, the obesity, the diabetes, and things like that. But back in the days, our grandmothers, even if you added salt, even if you added salt, they wanted it as plain as possible. And that is why you hardly found anybody of a young age suffering from high blood pressure, because our grandparents, our great-grandparents were very conscious about their food, and not only their food, the type of food, but how it was also prepared. If you gave your grandmother chicken that was full of spices, they would refuse to eat it because they wanted it plain and as natural as possible. It's as if they knew, they understood that the more spices you add, the more sick they become. And that is what we also need to we need to learn to make foods in the most natural way without adding a lot of spices that are full of chemicals that don't benefit our bodies at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Here's some more WhatsApps.
Hi, Clement. It's Mongez in Joburg. This is such a great conversation about what is sort of healthy foods and the traditional foods that we have. I think one of the things that's missing for most people, at least most of us, is how we could make some of these traditional foods healthy or healthier than they usually are made sometimes, right? Like how does that pilchards can be made healthier without necessarily adding too much oils and other things to it, to then make it less healthy than it would have optimally been without those other things added to it to make it, in inverted commas, taste nice, right? Or taste better, or whatever the case is. And I think this is one of those things that's missing. It would be great to have a conversation as well about how accessible foods in a country that has so much financial pressure can be made healthier so that more and more people have access to healthy and healthier foods and healthier meals and healthier meal options. It's Monges in Joburg. Great show.
Hi, Clement. I've always have CDBD so in my fridge. Because when I want thing, I just make porridge. And you know, you make porridge in a big pot, and then when it gets cold, it becomes pap. So you don't have to cook it twice. So every month, 2.5 kg thing, and I know how to make a CBD. So it's very nice. You can eat it with spinach or chicken, maybe hot body, and cabbage. That can be a nice treat for Sunday. Hot body, cabbage, and thing, or spinach. Got a big garden here, spinach, beans, and other stuff. Yeah, I don't eat this fancy broccoli because it's not even nice.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Rhea, I've really been inspired today. I think when I get home, I'm going to make some pilchard with pap. Get a little more rohonyana there on the side. So thank you so much for joining us and for helping us understand how we can make the regular traditional food and make that part of our daily healthy diet.
Oh, thank you so much, Clement. And to the listeners, clearly the listeners are onto something.
Yeah.
Most of them who are sending feedback know I understand the importance of eating cultural food. So I really hope that this will become a trend where we see more South Africans who are like, I want to eat more traditional foods. When I travel Africa, I realize that how people out of South Africa, people still hold cultural food to a high prestige. South Africans are the ones who are becoming more Western than any other African country.
Absolutely. Riabethu Mokoko, registered dietitian, thank you so much for guiding us through this chat. This health and wellness feature was brought to you by Cipla. Stay connected with us. You can catch the full feature on the Prime Media Plus app, primemediaplus.com, or WhatsApp the keyword health to 072-702-1702. Give your little one the comfort of easier breathing with Sterima Baby Nasal Hygiene. Made with 100% natural seawater and rich in trace elements, it's especially designed to gently cleanse and moisturize tiny noses. The unique baby-friendly nozzle helps make nasal cleaning safe and gentle, helping your baby breathe more easily for better sleep and feeding. For natural daily nasal hygiene, choose Sterima Baby. Sterima, breathe better, live better.
Looking to save money on your business insurance? Switch to OUTsurance Business Insurance and you could get a massive 20% discount on your business insurance premium. Here's Niku from the Gas Mart.
I was my previous insurer for 9 years before switching to OUTsurance Business Insurance. I'm very happy with my premiums at the moment. I wish we switched sooner to OUTsurance Business Insurance.
Get a quote to switch and save today. Visit outsurance.co.za or call 0800 60,000. Licensed insurer in FSP. TCs and information online.
Success doesn't wait. It doesn't copy. It doesn't ask permission. It moves. Powered by 125 kilowatts of turbocharged performance, 270 Newton meters of torque, and a 7-speed DCT transmission. Designed with electrically adjustable front seats, wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and an 8-speaker Sony sound system. The new Jetour Dashing. Success looks different from 429,900. Get behind the wheel today.
Strong communities are built on a strong local government. Every day, municipalities work to deliver the essential services that improve lives and support thriving communities across South Africa. As the voice of local government, SALGA represents, supports, and empowers municipalities to build capable institutions, promote good governance, and advance effective service delivery. SALGA, inspiring service delivery.
Coming up next, the Midday Report with Mandy Wiener. How are you doing, Mandy?
Hey, Clem.
What's popping?
The Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions is at the Madlanga Commission today. We're hearing more about the Magwenya case. Gaten McKenzie going before Parliament today to explain his World Cup extravaganza. Looking forward to it. It's going to
be interesting.
It's going to be fun. President Ramaphosa is opening a new hospital in Middelburg in Mpumalanga. This is really interesting. We'll speak to March and March about the fact that they've registered an NGO. They want to be more like AfriForum.
Okay.
And we'll look at the City of Cape Town's legal chances to get investigative powers for police.
All right, that's what's coming up on the Midday Report with Mandy Wiener. Thanks for listening to the show. We're back tomorrow between 9 and 12. Have a beautiful day, my friends. Bye-bye.
This is EWN.
Good afternoon. I'm Bali Dlamini. The Madlanga Commission has heard further evidence of alleged irregularities in IDAC's handling of the arrest of senior crime intelligence officials. IDAC Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions, Peter Serunye, is testifying about his role in the arrests of crime intelligence head Dumsane and the unit's technical support services head Dineo Mukweli. IDAC arrested the pair after claiming that Mukweli was unqualified for her position, but it has since emerged that she was actually overqualified for the job. So